anybody but the people that are writing off the taxes, right? They're not investing in something, so they're not
Yeah.
getting a write off because they're investing in helping other people. It's only helping them. And again, like that's something that only the elite level wealthy people can do. Most of us can't do that. Most of us can't shift all of our multi-million dollar assets into other entities because we don't have those.
Yeah, and the problem is it's not that basis shifting is illegal, right? It's just it's wrong when there's no, like Jay was saying, economic basis for it. Like there's no they're not make there's no business reason other than to avoid paying taxes. Like that's the issue. And with the extra money and increasing the staff at the IRS and being able to do these high level forensic audits, right? And even just this article as a deterrent that like, hey, like now this is something that's being looked at. Like I like the direction we're going.
Sorry, I was reading a comment.
Oh no,
Jackie, I'll have an answer for you soon. I'm trying to get an answer for you first.
okay. I was like, what? Do we need to know what we're talking about? Oh yeah, one other thing. So that was article 10 if in the outline if you didn't find that. And then 11. So I think this is good for women to know. Just Bernie Sanders is calling for an investigation that like contraception, women aren't supposed to be paying for it, right? But and insurance companies are charging women for contraception. And this is just a really interesting article about that, about insurances, how they're still charging for contraception even though they're not supposed to be. Like I found it very interesting, and when this hearing comes out, I'm definitely going to clip it because contraception is a base. I feel right it should be a basic right, and insurance companies are still to this day finding a way to charge people for contraception.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear people say, like, people's opposition to universal health care being that they don't want the government involved in those decisions, but you are okay with a company whose only motive is to make money being
Yep.
in charge of those decisions. Like, Paul, I don't know if are you planning on reading this whole thing or are we just summarizing?
Oh
I
no,
don't want
yeah,
to
I
jump.
was just gonna
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah, one of the things that caught my attention was them talking about like specific prescriptions that doctors had written and the insurance companies making the decision that no, there's a generic that will do the same thing, so you can only get the generic, but the doctor specifically saying like no, we need this, like this brand. And again, like, not to say that sometimes the doctor might be prescribing something that they get a kickback, I don't know, but either way, the insurance company is the one making the decision. So why are we okay with that? Like a completely profit driven model, and those people get to make decisions on our healthcare, but we don't trust our elected officials who at least, at the very least, are supposed to answer to us. At the very least, we can vote for them or choose not to vote for them.
I completely agree. Like it's the scariest thing about health insurance in the United States is exactly what you're saying, that there is no incentive. The only in capitalism, the only people that our health insurance providers are beholden to are shareholders, are delivering them money. The goal is to spend as little money keeping us alive as possible so they could give it to shareholders. There's no incentive whatsoever to actually take care of us.
Yeah. we're I
It's
think we're at
terrifying.
the point. I think everybody agrees universal health care. Like almost everybody agrees at this point universal health care is our only option. I think
If
that's
you're a
coming.
capitalist, like the number one priority in capitalism should be keeping the workforce healthy. Like that, I mean, it's basic stuff. You want to have a slave labor workforce, you got to keep them at least reasonably healthy.
We got to get
Like,
that TRT flowing for people over 50. Yeah, we got to get them working until they're 80. We're going to need some steroids. We're going to need some TRT to keep that going.
oh yeah, did you see the announcement today? This is Article 16, but I'm sure everyone saw it. Like it was just announced Biden's going to waive what is it? Like penalties for undocumented spouses of citizens, and so they can
The
apply
dreamers.
it's and they, well yeah, it's basically it's mostly DACA people. And I think you have to have been here for at least 10 years, um things of that nature, and there's still a lot of loopholes, but I think
Yeah, this was a. I
it's
have a
good.
friend from South Africa, and they moved here during apartheid, and then because of the 10-year rule, and they didn't have their citizenship yet, and they applied for their visa, but I don't remember what happened. Something happened. They had to go back.
For 10
Uh,
years, huh?
their whole family, like 7 kids, they had to go back to South Africa. And I now looking back, I realized that it's possible they were on the wrong side of things that were happening in Africa. But I just remember him telling me, like, just one day that his dad's like, "Hey, sorry guys, we have to go back to South Africa." And he was born there, lived there till he was like 2. He knew nothing about it. So
Yeah, so I just want to, so just to be clear, it says President Biden will clear the way on Tuesday for hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants married to U.S. citizens. So you have to be married to a U.S. citizen to apply for legal residency in one of the most expansive programs of his presidency. And it's like, so, and this just falls under, I was interested in like, how will this be challenged in courts? But it's basically just parole, right? And under immigration law, presidents have wide, expansive, like, can make many decisions about who to parole, who to give work visas to, and this would just be one of those, essentially.
just another instance of Joe Biden combing through our, well, I guess not him, his team, combing through our laws and finding ways to make things more just, make things a little bit better for Americans. Like, obviously, if you've been married to somebody for a long time and they don't have their citizenship yet, and then their citizenship expires, they have to go to another country. We don't want that. Obviously, we don't want that. Nobody wants that. It's just a more sensible legislation, or I guess not legislation, but executive orders coming from Biden.
And this article it talks about a guy. He's actually a lawyer. Hi, Sully, missed you so much. Missed your jokes.
Fuck you, Sully.
Okay. Good morning, Sully.
Oh, why?
So it's talking about a lawyer, right? Like, I believe he came when he was 7, right? Like, crossed the border when he was 7. His mom was from Sierra Leone and qualified for refugee status, but the child didn't at the time, so he was left behind. Came later. Now is a married lawyer. Like, the rule is, if you're undocumented and are married, if you want to apply for citizenship, you have to leave the country for 10 years. Like, and then and apply
Crazy.
like that. So that's the real process now. If you get married to someone who's undocumented and they're in the US, the penalty is basically like, okay, yeah, you can bring them here in 10 years. 10 years and much money like that. So this is just, I think
Uh,
this is good.
just Blossom had sent me some sources here from when we were talking about the IRS.
Hmm.
Basically, a dollar increase in spending on the IRS enforcement activities results in between $5 and $9 of increased revenue. So I was in the range at 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, exactly. That's a return on investment. So know that for debates or for conversations, every dollar we invest into the IRS, we can get a did you say $9 return? So we're in that
Between 5
range.
and 9, yeah.
That's a great return on investment. We should be investing in the IRS. Again, don't listen to the misinformation. It has nothing to do with middle America. It's about high level forensic audits of corporations and billionaires.
What do you call a hen that counts their eggs?
I don't know what.
A mathema chicken.
A mathema chicken. That's
That wasn't
funny.
me.
I
Well
like
done.
that one. Oh, I'm just gonna say this because, like, sometimes I'm serious a lot, so I
That
like
was
this.
so much funnier. That's getting funnier as we go. I'm sorry to cut you off. That's a
Mathema
great joke.
chicken.
Yeah, I love that one. Sorry, I'm a child. Sorry for
I
cutting
like
you off.
that one too. I can't remember. I forgot the joke, but I'll remember it in a second. I'll tell you. There's one I heard today that I'm like, it was hilarious. You guys, STIs are running rampant in.
What a pivot! What a pivot!
Yeah, that was a hard pivot, right? There was not a lot of transition there. There's not a lot of transition. I just went for it, and then it sounded weird.
I love. Keep going. I
I
love that pivot.
This is actually really important. We're all going to gather around and then we're going to sit our parents down and talk to them about the birds and the bees. That's what everyone needs to do after this live. This is serious. Let me just get it's number
8.
8 on the outline. Yes. Sexually transmitted infections are skyrocketing in this unexpected group. Yeah, older adults, right? And this is some serious stuff. Number one, like lack of knowledge about STIs, right? The boomers grew up during a time when they didn't really get a lot of education around this. Like, I'm going to give you the reasons maybe this could be happening. I mean, because we're talking about people, like I was reading this, I think like one of the things is like they were polling people or older Americans, and like they didn't know chlamydia was curable, like they don't know, like all, I mean, it's wild. um Number two, low condom use, right? They're not
Yeah.
using, yeah, they're not using protection because many older Americans sort of see condoms as something to prevent pregnancy. This does not apply to them. You know, that's not an issue for them. So they are not using protection.
Yeah, to my mom, who's listening, I know you're listening. Pay attention. Okay,
Yeah,
just because you
exactly.
can't get
You got,
pregnant anymore doesn't mean you get to run free. Wrap
it's
up,
not just
mom.
children that need to have the birds and the bees talk. After this live, we are all going to sit our parents down and talk to them about their sexual activity.
Okay, yeah, I got to make a phone call.
Then we're all going to report back. I'm really going to do it. Making my parents uncomfortable is just one way that I can like get back at them for my childhood. Listen, what survey found that more than half of men and 31% of women between the ages of 65 and 80 reported being sexually active? That's a fair
First of
number.
all, first of all, good for you. Good for
Yeah.
you guys. That's terrific.
Exactly.
Well
Exactly.
done.
Get it how you live. I think that this is great
How you
news, you know
live.
what I mean? Like this is good for you guys, but we got to use protection. So another study by AARP concluded that 26% of those 60 to 69 had sex weekly.
Shout out.
That's better than me.
Aw. Biannually Felice, we
No,
call her.
I'll say we need to be sex positive. I haven't had sex in over a year. So see, old people, this I have something to look forward
Who is
to.
it that's always asking you to Cheesecake Factory?
Yeah, but oh, is it Patrick?
I'm just saying, you
Patrick.
heard that? Maybe we leave Cheesecake Factory. Maybe we try a new restaurant. Give it a shot. Now's the time.
Okay, yeah, so 26% of those 60 to 69 had sex weekly, as did 17% of those 70 and older. It's a little depressing for us. I think we all need to step
This
our
is
games up.
devastating.
Step our games
Cindy
up.
Cindy says, "Tell mom and dad, don't be silly. Wrap your willy."
Exactly. That's a good one. I'm gonna actually say that. More okay, so number four, more opportunities for new sex partners, right? Smith point so the rise in widowed and divorced people choosing congregate living assisted living communities, right?
Or as we call them in the biz, orgy houses.
They are residing together and want intimacy. This is, and then there's dating sites such as, I never heard Our Time. I've heard of that one, but I guess there's sites called Senior Match, and I like this one, Silver Singles.
Ooh, I
Again,
like
remember I
that.
was talking about that New York Times documentary everyone should watch? I can't remember what it's called, but there's a New York Times documentary. It's about the largest retirement community in the United States. It's modeled after like Walt Disney World. It's in Florida. And yeah, like this article tracks with what I
It's this. Yeah, I saw it. I looked it up. Their slogan is, "We're the only app in the world that gets you laid by 3 p.m."
You guys, if you care about your parents, we all need to go get a box of condoms, sit them down, and talk about responsibility.
We gotta
And
hydrate too. We gotta
the,
talk to them about hydration.
one of the, it's also because of gender imbalance, which this is an interesting thought too. Like women have an average life of expectancy that is nearly 6 years longer than that of men. So the disproportionate number of women who outlive their partners results in what Smith calls a partner gap, with older men having multiple female sex partners. Again, this is all men's fault, with low or absent condom use. Such monogamous behavior risks the STI. So like that's, I mean, so men die younger. There's more single older women. So single males have multiple sex partners. Wrap it up.
This is an actual episode of Parks and Rec. It just reminded me of that. don't know if you remember that. She gets in trouble. Like it's a battle between she wants to teach
I
like
love
sex ed,
bartender.
and then like the Christians they want to teach abstinence only to these seniors. They're like no sex
Yeah,
unless you're married. Yeah.
hello, that's what happened in my Christian school. Yeah, I we got that talk too. This listen to this. This is well, not
Can I do
funny. This
some
is serious.
capitalism real quick?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Here we go. Sully, who I hate with my whole heart, says, "What do you call a basketball team that lost the championship? The Mavericks."
Oh, that's hurt, Sully. Sully, how could you just twist in the knife?
He did say, "P.S. I love you guys, and I'll stop trolling you now." I highly doubt that, but it hurts
I
my
think that
feelings.
was trolling.
It felt like it. Hurt my feelings. Michelle says, "I have a Polish friend who's a sound technician. Oh, and a Czech one too. Check one
Get
two.
it?
Check one two."
That's hilarious.
Solid. I think one more. Jason says, "Missed you, Felice. You are the smartest person on TikTok. Jay gobbles glizzies, double fist without you." God damn. Jeez.
Who said that?
That was Jason. That was aggressive.
I was like, that's
Jesus.
Glizzy.
Gobbles glizzies, double fist.
Sounds like something HVAC would say.
I'd be a lot more popular if I did that, I think.
That's
It'd be-
hilarious. Listen to these statistics. Because this phenomenon is supported by CDC data, which shows a gender gap in STI rates among those 65 and older. In this age group, men, listen up, tell your parents, men had nearly 7 times the rate of gonorrhea and nearly 10 times the rate of syphilis. Right? Syphilis is treatable by antibiotics. If you guys don't know, there's huge syphilis outbreaks going on in the United States because of disinformation and misinformation around, medication and prescriptions. Like people aren't finishing or even starting their round of antibiotics.
Oh,
And
sorry.
so we're just spreading syphilis. We're like back to it's ridiculous. What?
Sorry. I'm too immature to have this conversation. I laughed at when you said people weren't finishing.
Discomfort in having sex. CJ, that's you. Many older adults are hesitant to communicate with new partners about their sexual preferences and needs. You guys, this is very important to take your parents
Please,
through tonight.
Everybody call your parents today.
Yeah, and you just sit them down and be like, we need to have a very serious conversation. Only 17% of people ages 65 to 80 spoke to their physician about sexual health. Who speaks to their physician? Oh, okay. I get what they're saying now. Never mind. I was thinking something else. Most of these conversations were initiated by the patient, not the doctor. Anyways, I just thought this last quote: society should not deter or shame older adults about their needs or desires for intimacy, affection, and sex. However, we should tell them to wrap it up.
Correct.
Yes, Mom,
wasn't me-
Sully says, Mom, make sure you finish
That's
your
why I'm blushing.
antibiotics.
What is a far-sighted potato? What do you call a far-sighted potato? Is maybe
Blind something.
a spectator.
Spectator. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
What's the difference between a G-spot and a golf ball?
Well, men don't know.
A guy will search for a golf ball.
That's so.
Pretty accurate.
That's.
Pretty accurate.
Oh man. Anyways, I just thought that's very important that we all need to make sure to talk to our parents about condoms because they're apparently not using them in any way. And I think let's get on to the Michigan stuff. Are you ready to
I'm ready.
get
I'm
into
ready.
the
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna add my backup as soon as I get in here.
Guys, while she's doing that, just a reminder, we are streaming on YouTube. You can find the replays over there. Jackie asked earlier if we recorded the live with HVAC. Jen said she did one last week, so it could be. And then she also wants to know what the show was that you said to watch at the beginning of the live.
Oh,
It's the
it's called
Josh
Outer.
Brolin one.
It's called Outer Range.
There you go.
Oh,
Outer
and
Range.
I need to change my background.
And above Felice's head, you'll see our Cash App and Venmo. If you'd like to send a dad joke like the ones you've been hearing today, feel free to do some. So I did see Jen sent me a comment, I think from our Discord. I don't know if it was from our Discord or from TikTok. I'm going to read it. This is from Abaracadabra. My best friend took off with my wife. I miss him.
I'm just gonna go on mute really quick.
That's fine. Somebody laughed. Somebody know. Somebody tell me they thought that was funny. Good time. Get a drink. You want me? Actually, no. I'll tell that story later. I've got a story for you guys, but it's gonna be maybe later this week. Oh,
Oh, I'm
this is
so
where we're
excited
going.
for
Oh
this.
no. Oh no.
Yeah, well,
All
that's
right,
we need
folks.
to we're just going to talk about like this is something Trump, does in swing states. Like he does this in Arizona all the time. So I'm here basically I just want to start out by apologizing to the people of Michigan. Like we know your pain here in Arizona when the Charlie Kirk white nationalist shit show comes to town in concert with Donald Trump. Like that's isn't this
Yeah.
like what this happens to us every year in December?
Every
Like
time. Every
like
time. Yeah.
with a whatever they call America Fest. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so I like that's all I thought when I was going through this is like, "Oh, I've been here before." Which was also oh, and we'll talk about it in a second. Let me find the section we're on. So the section in the outline called Trump speaks to barely anyone and certainly not 8 to 9 thousand African Americans at Detroit
That was a
church.
solid headline you wrote there, Felice. I like that one.
Yeah, starting at the bottom of that section. I just want to make sure I'm at the right place. Give me 1 second. Anyways, the like I said, this is obviously Trump's MO. He does this in swing states, showing up places and telling lies. But I think even for Trump, I don't want to, like, it's almost like he rents it out. This is very similar to his fake union event, right?
And he did
Like,
rent it out. He
well,
did.
yeah, rent it
Yeah.
out. But that's what I want to say. I want to be like he rented out a black church and filled it with white people. But like, I mean, yeah, and he did like he rents a lot of things. But I mean, that's basically essentially what happened. Oh, and we'll get into that. But that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Trump campaign in concert with Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk and what they did in Detroit this weekend because it was absolutely ludicrous. And the church is called 180 Church, right? And oh my God, I have so much amazing information for you. This is going to be awesome. So, first thing to note, like, let me see if I can get this camera a little bit closer here.
Felice,
So,
which insect can tell time?
I don't know. I wish I could guess more
The
better.
clock.
What?
The clockroach.
Cockroach. That's a good one. I like that a lot.
John, and then John says, "I told you it'd be Celtics in 5." Shut up, John.
It's okay,
He
EJ.
did
We're
say
gonna
that. He
get you
did say
through
that.
this time. We're gonna get you through this time. At least they won a game.
That's
Like
not helpful. That's just pity.
I do. If they
I don't
got
need your
swept,
fucking
if they
pity.
got swept, no, I do support West Coast basketball over East Coast basketball. That's
Well, I
why
mean,
I'm
it's
saying that.
Texas. I don't know if it's West Coast, the Western
Not,
Conference, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, well, that's what I mean. But okay, so you see right here, guys, where there's this circle. The reason that's circled is because this individual is wearing a lanyard. These are the Turning Point USA lanyards. Most of the people, or a lot of the people that actually were at the 180 church, were people that were flown into town by Turning Point USA. Okay, so I mean, not uh,
They flew into town for this, not
yes,
necessarily that Turning Point brought them in. Yeah, yeah.
no, no, they did. They have travel scholarships.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, turning like and we'll get into it. Like the woman who's at let's just keep going. But yes, Turning Point USA. So for specifically minorities, but other people as well, they do like a travel scholarship thing to be at events. Like essentially, like the woman that was hugging Trump at Chick-fil-A. He's like, oh, this random person, this random African American woman is just here hugging me. And then it turned photos have popped up of her
Yeah.
at Mar-a-Lago. Oh, wait, surprise, she works for
She's doing.
the Republican Party in Georgia. And like, yeah.
She's able to travel an awful lot for somebody who works at Chick-fil-A.
Okay, so yeah, that's why I'm pointing out these lanyards because it will become more relevant in a little bit. Why can't
Chuck says, "Keep up the good work." Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it.
Oh no. Hmm. Oh, there. It's okay. I thought my computer was frozen for a second, but it's responding again. Crisis averted, everyone.
We made it.
Sorry, I just like this guy's head. Kind of looks like Dr. Phil.
Oh,
This is just a picture of Trump's audience. Like, again, it's going to be kind of hard to see these up close, but the point I'm showing you here is this is from the back. The audience was all white people. There were more African Americans on the stage. Those were guests of Trump and like Turning Point USA people. But again, 180 Church is a predominantly African American church. This is just like what he did with the Union rally. Had a fake Union rally. He essentially rented an African American church and filled it with non-African Americans and then pandered and told it spread misinformation and disinformation.
For those asking to put this on the big screen, we don't know how.
Oh
That's
no,
the short answer.
and I'll just say this.
No.
I'll keep saying it to remind people. It's not that even we don't know how. It's that we have done it. I think 3 times. Jen does know how. She did it. But what happens is the pictures don't get bigger. It will just be the same size, and then there will just be empty space. So yeah, we did try that, and yeah, we'll get into that later. But as soon as we figure out a way to make these pictures more visible, we were gonna use TikTok Studio, but you can't have 2 people on a live and use and screen share. Like we've thought about it, guys. we're trying. Okay, wait. So here we go.
Shit, sorry, I was muted. Tracy just said, still trying to get the Discord. Picture me this is picture me this. Shoot me a DM. I'll try and help you through it.
Okay. Oh, guys, keep tapping the screen as we're going through this stuff and as I play the clips. And if you would like to donate to us, we do rely on your donations and tips to keep our show going. That is super important and we appreciate it. And finally, we are taking opposition. So if at any point
Ty,
anyone
Ty's in the box, but I don't want to talk to Ty. So
sorry, Ty. Just for a sec.
No, I'm tired of Ty's he had a bad morning and he's just I talked to him last night.
Oh, you know what's going on. Okay.
Yeah. Not interested.
I never know what's going on, so I defer to your judgment. Okay, so this is just a clip. Again, keep tapping the screen as the clips play. We're just gonna do some investigation into this audience at this church.
One lady.
Just okay. We did not. Sorry, we'll get to the next clip. Go through. I don't know. I thought that was audience size, but essentially that's just Trump coming in, and the guy next to him is the pastor. Who? Oh my gosh! Wait till you see.
Does that sound like 8,000 or 9,000 people to you guys? Like 8,000 or 9,000 people. Like there would be some noise. That's 8,000 or 9,000.
Yeah. Wait till you see. Well, we'll get there to like the whole auditorium. You could not fit 2,000 people into the whole. It
holds 1,000, right?
Yeah, into the whole church. Like 900, 800 or 900. But again, it wasn't even full. Even for Trump, that this event was a fail. This lovely woman right here. This is Chick-fil-A. Remember her?
Yeah, well traveled. And just so you guys know, like it's not.
Oh, that
it's
was
not
18.
just that. It's not that Trump lies about the size of his rallies, but Fox News repeated this. Fox News repeatedly. Kellyanne Conway's on Fox News saying Trump spoke in front of 9,000 people at a black church. These are their claims.
Sure.
These are the types of claims that they're using to say like Trump is gaining support. And I don't think this works. I mean, I don't think it's going to work for him. But what it does do is it allows you guys to keep hope, and it allows you guys to keep supporting. It allows you guys to keep donating. And ultimately, that's what this is about. This is about keeping money pouring in. And that's why, like, the stuff he does is so ridiculous. Like, this is something nobody else does. I get tired of pointing out Trump being dishonest and people saying, oh, well, all politicians lie. Nobody fucking does this. Nobody. Nobody has rallies with 200 people in it and say that was 9,000. Nobody. Nobody has ever done this. And Trump doesn't do it sometimes. He does it every time. He lies every single time he has a rally. Every single time. He lies about who was there, he lies about the support, and he lies about the total number. This is not, oh, politicians lie. This guy's a lunatic. Nobody lies about shit like this. No sane person would say 9,000 people when clearly there's like 200.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. This is who I was talking about. Her name is, let me turn my mic down a little since we're not playing clips. Her name is Michaela Montgomery. This is the woman that was at Chick-fil-A, right? She recently also.
I actually think you should turn your mic up.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a little, and somebody said it was quiet on YouTube. It sounded fine before you turned it down.
Just if it's not.
That sounds good.
Oh, damn, it's all the way up. Okay.
It sounds good.
Okay, good. Let me know if I need to adjust. Yeah, this is the woman I was talking about. So the suspiciously at Chick-fil-A, that it turns out she worked for the Republican Party in Georgia. Then recently there was another incident where a PR thing where they're like, Trump hosts African Americans at Mar-a-Lago. It was her again, and her group.
And Byron.
This is really sad. This is essentially how Trump uses minorities, right? Props them up, uses them as a photo op. Be at every event standing there so I can point and say, see, I have African Americans that support me. Yeah. And this is 17 in the outline. I think I missed a clip or something, so I just want to make sure we're on 17.
Gotcha.
Oh, this is good. I forgot I found this. So someone made this. This is her traveling for Trump. This is her at Chick-fil-A. Remember the famous Chick-fil-A hugs? All the same person. This is her at the Mar-a-Lago thing where they're like, Trump welcomes African Americans to Mar-a-Lago. Photo op. And this is her at 180 Church, Detroit. This is what I mean.
I just want to point out, Trump will do these type of events, and Trump loves to talk about his support for his black voters. But then, look at when something really, really matters to him. Look at when something's really, really important. Is he bringing those same black supporters on stage at that point? No. Is he bringing them into the administration? No. Right? When it comes time, that's why I really don't think he's going to choose somebody like Byron Donalds or what's his face's name.
Oh, Byron Donalds
the
is
fake
the
engaged
worst
guy. What's his name?
Oh, Tim Scott.
Tim Scott.
I got fake engaged. No one still has seen that woman again. Anyone seen Tim Scott's fields?
Yeah, Tim Scott. Yeah.
She randomly appeared and he asked her to marry him on the beach. It's insane.
But I would just say this, of course this is going to be pointed out, but this is actually who Trump is. He just uses people. It's not just about race. It's not just about skin color. It's about a person who uses people if they can be useful to him. And as soon as they're not useful to him, he discards them.
Yeah, narcissists are transactional, right? Just how can you be used as a pawn? The minute you cannot, you're dead to that person. It's all transactional. Okay, I think this will be a clip where we can see the audience better. I'm hopeful. Yeah. No, this is 15.
15. Okay. $8,000. Look there's empty seats.
I think I have several more, but yeah, do you see how small? I mean, this is a small church, very, very small. There's no 9,000. Like we said, you could probably get 1,000 people in there. It's not going to be comfortable.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if 1,000. I know that they say that, but I think you would have needed a lot more chairs up front, and maybe that includes the stage. Sue sent a comment while you're pulling this text up. This isn't a joke. It's for real. That's good. That's good. You should warn. If you're ever going to say something serious, you should do what Sue did and write a disclaimer. I'm Gen X, and younger people see older people as old, but older people don't see it that way. We see ourselves as not old. Then we see our classmates on
Hey,
Facebook and say,
where's
damn,
your
who the
sister?
hell is that old bald?
She's not my aunt's way. I dropped her off.
I think that's very
What?
I think that's very true also, like, or and even it's extreme for me. Like, that's what arrested development is, essentially. Like, in my mind, I'm like pretty much frozen as a child.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and as I heal, I think that gets better. Like, I completely. Oh,
Jason
this
wants
is
to know what you
you're
call
saying,
somebody
so.
who.
Oh,
Jason
this
wants
is
to know what you call somebody who refuses to fart in public.
what
A private tutor.
I was gonna say. Woman. What?
A private tutor.
I was gonna say
Private
woman.
tutor. I like that one.
Private tutor.
Private
Oh,
tutor.
I just got that. I did
Private
not get it.
tu-
For a
Oh,
second.
I
just
got it.
got that. I did not get it for a second.
Everyone relax, I got it.
This
Everyone
is
relax,
Gahudia
I got
thing,
it.
you know,
Got-
another
This is
African
Gahudia
American,
thing,
you know,
loves to be
another
used by
African American
Trump. Ben Carson
loves to
Ben
be
Carson
used by
was
Trump.
there
Ben Carson
as the hype man.
Ben Carson was there as
Ben
the
Carson
hype
should
man.
never be anybody's hype man. Ben
and
Carson should never
should
be
not.
anybody's
Low
hype
energy
man
human
ever.
on
This is
earth.
He
low
should not.
Low
When he
energy
talks, like, I
human
just
on
fall.
earth.
I
Like,
know. When he talks, like, I just fall.
He
I'm
talks
just like
so
slow and
just
calm.
falls
Yeah.
asleep.
But I think we can also get another look. But I think we can also get another look at the African American audience. Predominantly African American audience. It's empty. Like, does everybody understand?
It's empty.
And
Like,
does
the Washington
everybody
Post, by the way,
understand? And
I was reading
the
their
Washington
report
Post, by the
on
way.
this.
I was reading
And
their
they had a
report
reporter
on
there
this,
who asked
and
everyone
they had a
in
reporter
line
there who
if
asked
they were a
everyone
member
in
of
line
180
if
church's
they were a
congregation,
member of
not
180
one person
church's
said yes.
congregation. Not one person.
That's a
said
low
yes.
percentage. 0% is a low percentage.
That's a low percentage.
When you're going to
0%
claim
is a low
that,
percentage.
they invited
When
you
you're
there.
going
and
to
that's the other
claim
part.
that,
They never
they
say like
invited
we
you
rented
there.
out.
And that's
this
the other
space.
part.
They never bring.
They
up
never
the
say
fact
like
that
we
when
rented
Trump went
out
to
this
that
space.
factory.
They never
he
bring up the
rented
fact
out
that when Trump went to that
factory
factory
and brought
he
people
rented
in and paid
out
people to
that
come in.
factory
They never
and
bring
brought
that
people in
part
and
up.
paid people
right?
to
Like
come in.
they never
180
bring
church
that part
probably
up.
was just like,
right?
yeah,
like
we'll make some
180
money off this,
church.
go
Probably,
ahead.
and then
wait till you
none
hear
of
this.
them
Money off
showed
this,
up.
go ahead.
And then
wait till you
none
hear
of
this.
them
it's
showed
worse
up.
than that.
No, wait till you hear
the
this.
pastor
No,
of the
it's
church,
worse
which
than
we're going
that.
to get
Like,
into.
the pastor of the church, which we're going to get into
his Patriot Takes, by the way. Patriot Takes on X, Twitter. I refuse to just say X. Is who I got a lot of this info, like these clips from. So also credit to Patriot Takes. But yeah, if you guys saw Jill in the comments said not even 500, I agree. If you saw this, the camera moved a little slower on this one. The whole back left is empty. Like I agree that there's not 1,000 people in there.
I think it's 200.
Yeah, it's
Honestly, I don't think it's more than 200.
it,
I've been
there's
to church.
nobody
I've been
in
to
there.
church. I know how to count church people. It's less than 200.
I agree, and they're all spread out. Yeah, like the pews, 300 to 400 tops. I think that's fair. I think that, like, even if we exaggerate how many people are probably in there, like 9,000 is what Kellyanne Conway was on Fox saying. Like, we are in crazy town. Oh, now we'll get into the pastor a little bit. His
Wasn't me wants to know what underwear brand do scientists wear?
What underwear? Fruit of the something to do with science.
This one's pretty. I actually had to Google it. Calvin Klein.
Oh, Kelvin, the Kelvin
Yeah.
scale. Or, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I didn't know.
Kelvins.
I didn't
Everyone
know.
knows what Kelvins are.
I had no idea. Honestly, I had no idea who Kelvin was.
Okay, so this is the pastor, which, by the way, I was like, it's worse than just renting out a church. No, it's much worse, because I've got some info on this pastor that you guys are going to love. His name is Lorenzo Sewell. Immediately, right, he took this out. He's using it just like we say. There's a cottage industry around Trump, and this guy's making money off of it. Like his shirt, he's holding open his shirt like this. It says "Make Black America Great Again." He immediately started selling those shirts online for, I think, like $40. Yeah. So just to be clear, that's this guy. And it's going to get worse, and we'll get into it about like who he is. But there's a reason his congregation was not there.
Can I say this? If I was Lorenzo Sewell, I don't know what his political beliefs are. I have no idea. Good. like I don't have a problem with people making money off Trump being a grifter, and
I
I
don't
would
either.
sell merch to these dumbasses that show up for him too. That's 100% what. In fact, if there's ever a Trump rally like within 20 minutes of me, I'm probably just gonna make a bunch of merch and go sell it. I have no problem grifting off of dummies.
Oh,
That would be
well,
great.
I totally agree with that. I just think, well, we'll get into the history of this pastor. Like him specifically, I have a problem with because of like his congregation tried to fire him and he changed like the bylaws and refused to leave. Like that's what I'm trying. He's not even like they don't even want him to be the pastor. He's basically there, like what Trump tried to do, like not leave office, is what this guy successfully did
I was
at
gonna say
this
it's pretty
church.
on brand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like this guy is. It makes perfect sense why he's hanging out with Trump. As pre-order, make Black America great again, $40.
Oh, we're drop shipping those shits. That's what pre-order means. That means they're just drop shipping them. They got somebody that's gonna. They didn't even buy them in bulk. They weren't sure how they were gonna sell.
Oh, yeah. So this is an old clip that I believe, yeah, Patriot Takes found of Lorenzo Sewell at his church. And he believes himself, this is going to come as like he's bordering on cult leader, right? He believes himself to be a modern day prophet that can deliver God's messages to people. So this is hard to hear. We might not be able to. It was hard for me to hear in my headphones last night.
It'll probably be impossible then because we barely heard the other clips.
Really?
You might have to get your mic probably as close as you can. I don't know.
Oh man, well,
Or I'm
just
going
see.
deaf. Could be that too.
Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Can you hear
I
it?
love to pray and
Barely.
prophesy over everybody here because I love you and I serve you. Amen. 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 And Wednesday night. So what time? 6 o'clock. Amen. We're going to be praying, believing God on Wednesday.
Is that better?
Oh, there's a
No.
massive echo now.
From God, I'm gonna be
Sorry.
prophesying, laying hands. If it was up to me, I would prophesy to everybody here. Amen. But because of time, the Bible says that the Spirit.
Anyways, that's just him pretending that the Lord is speaking to him. Prophet or prophet. Drew, you made it funny. That's funny. Get it? Prophet.
Everybody knows there's only one prophet, and he resides in Salt Lake City, and he presides.
What's
over
the
Mormon
current
Church.
prophet's name, by the way? What is it?
Russell Nielsen. Nielsen? I think it's Nielsen. No, Nelson. It's Nelson. Nelson. He's the one that was the heart surgeon.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a crazy juxtaposition. I don't know why that keeps happening. Oh, yeah. This is just... Look, this is the church. I just want to be clear what we're... So this is the outside. There's no 9,000 people in there. just this is the building, okay? Like Trump's acting like he spoke at like an NBA arena. This is the outside of the
Is it
church.
called 180 because it's 180 years old? That is an old building. That looks like an old factory.
I just got it right now that he's probably calling it that because, you could do a 180. I thought it was like
That's what I thought,
yeah,
too.
I just literally right now got it.
Yeah, I was guessing that's what it
Oh,
was.
that makes okay. I see what we're doing here. Oh, now this is Lorenzo Sewell being arrested. Okay, just thought it's necessary to include that.
That was kind of a shot.
No,
from
well, no,
left
this
field.
has to do with the church. In June 2023, photos of Trump hosting pastor Lorenzo Sewell of 180 Church being arrested by Detroit police. His congregation said they fired him, but he allegedly changed bylaws and courts won't get involved in religious disputes. A legal maneuver got him building control back. So they tried to have him actually removed from the premises. That's why he was able to rent the building from Trump. He basically changed bylaws in the charter. They don't even want this pastor to be the pastor.
That would explain why he needs to sell out his church to rent it out to people. That's crazy.
Isn't it though?
I hadn't read this stuff. I got through the WAPO stuff. I didn't know that. I didn't think this was that detailed of a story. I'm glad you found all this.
You know me.
Yeah,
That's what. Yeah. So, okay. So this is a clip. Hopefully, I think this one's louder, so we should be able to.
Why do you think they were targeting you and targeting 180 Church?
It's just the power of privilege. I believe that when you are white and you have power, you feel like I own this. Instead of saying, wow, this guy's been the pastor for 5 years.
Okay, so again, that's his excuse. Like they tried to remove him as pastor, and this guy's refusing to leave the premises, whatever, and he blames it on white privilege. So maybe that, I guess, maybe he means by that his whole congregation is not in fact African American.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about the demographics of their church, but let's see.
But yeah,
I was on their webpage. Let's see.
He's like 5 years isn't even that long, but yeah, it does not make any sense. Canada stands with Trump. Well, you're welcome to come up here and tell us about it, Sachs, man. We are taking opposition. If you're willing to yell at us in all caps, you can certainly come up and have an adult conversation about why you love Trump. Guys, keep tapping the screen. We're almost to 175K. Canada supports Trump. Someone just reply back. No, they don't.
Yeah, that's like saying North Dakota supports Trump. Like we don't. It's not that big of an endorsement.
Well, don't make sense.
We're good.
To them.
We're good.
They're not interested in.
He'll be thrilled to hear that, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, and here, this is Lorenzo. So this is the pastor outside on OAN.
For him coming here, for us, we feel like, wow, we need to make Black America great again. Because Black America used to be the very epicenter of politics. Black America, specifically the Black church, was a place that you can get the information that you needed in an objective way in order for people to make informed decisions. So what we're asking the president to do is to make Black America great again.
I only was really a part of my church, and like we didn't, even though like everybody in the Mormon church are pretty much conservatives, we didn't talk about it. In other churches, do they talk about politics? I have no idea if what he's saying is true. Like, did Black churches used to be more political? Did they discuss that stuff in church? I have no idea if that's true.
I mean, I think the church has been the epicenter, like because of the transatlantic slave trade, because of the absolute torture and hell that African Americans were put through, like church and spirituality became like a place to gather, to join, to discuss everything, to organize. You know what I mean? Like it is the center of Black life, and everything revolved sort of around that.
Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. It was like, that was the community. So everything that you talked about in the community would also be talked about.
That was their one day off, like the one thing they were allowed to do was essentially to attend church. So yeah, like that's where you would talk, exchange information, ideas, organize things of that nature. But for him to, like, just keep in mind, on this little panel at this church that Trump was having, Byron Donalds there. This is a man who is at a cigar shop in Florida talking about, oh, Jim Crow wasn't so bad. That's when the Black family was together. I mean, this guy, Lorenzo Sewell, is essentially rubber stamping this behavior. And I mean, we could go into all the things Trump has said and done to the African American community, but we don't have that kind of time.
Well, we do, but we're not going to.
I think maybe this is I just got one short Kellyanne Conway clip.
Biden's not doing anything like that. Look at the contrast of just this weekend. You got Donald Trump in Detroit talking to 8,000 people, and then at a Black church, of course. By the way, he did that.
Notice how she has to get that in there. This is, I mean, just complete lies. But he rents out a space, essentially rents out an African American church so he can say he was at a Black church, which he's just renting the space, but so that later his team can imply that he spoke to a church filled with African Americans.
And what's frustrating is like she knows that she's lying. That's what I think is so frustrating about all of these people. Is it's not like they were just duped. Like they know that they're lying. They know what they're saying is not true, and they say, and then when they get pressed, they don't back down. Michelle wants to know, why do golfers always carry a spare pair of trousers with them? Good use of trousers.
Trousers. Why?
Yeah, in case they get a hole in one.
That's funny. I do like that. Drew just said in the comments that he had a crush on Maria Bartiromo when he was when he was on Wall Street. Actually, Maria Bartiromo, if you guys don't know, she was a highly intelligent, highly respected Wall Street reporter. Like her stock tips made people a lot of money. Like, she used to be a whole different person. Like, so yeah, like that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Like, she used to be a different person. So
I mean,
I don't.
Fox has always been like a bit of a propaganda arm of the Republican Party, but not to this extent. Like, they did a much better job. They used to do a much better job of like feigning like they were in the middle, right? And then it turned into like, oh well, we're the other side, like we're the other side of the left, and it was still fine. But they weren't like they are now. They weren't all in. I do want to point out that I carry an extra pair of trousers, underwear in my golf bag. Not trousers, but underwear. It always stays in my golf bag.
Why?
This isn't a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking why.
Yeah, no, I shit my pants in a golf tournament once, and never been the same.
Well, I could see that, like, just being like golf. You're out there a long time. Like, there's a lot going on. I could see that.
I ate some bad food, and it hit me with like 2 holes left to play.
Is that what men do? You guys just pee like on the course, or do you go to the bathroom?
They have bathrooms. I was fortunate to be right next to a bathroom, and my underwear stayed in the bathroom, and I continued on.
Shout out to whoever.
This was not that long ago either. This was like 5 years ago. It was a tough day for me.
Hey, people lose control of their bowels. Like,
it does happen.
I agree with you. I almost died. I learned a lot of things. Like, enjoy being young, people, because yes, we are all going to be shitting our pants soon. Here's Trump, and again, like, Trump rented out a black church, filled it with predominantly white people, lied that there were 9,000 people there when there was probably less than 500, and then spread a bunch of lies.
We achieved the lowest African American unemployment rate and the lowest African American poverty rate ever recorded during my 4 years.
Except for the correct one, except for except for Biden did that.
And it was an all-time high. It's a weird thing that he brags about, and it's weird when Republicans talk about that. Like, okay, but Biden's done better. So if that's really your argument, then wouldn't you vote for Biden? It's not a real argument. This is just their way of saying, look, we're not racist. That's the whole point. That's the only reason they ever bring up any of these numbers, is to try and throw off the scent of racism. But it's going to be hard to do that when you have white nationalists like in party leadership. It's going to be hard for us to believe you.
And they all know. Like, Abby Phillip, right? She has a show on CNN, and she had Byron Donalds on not a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And I mean, you can't get a word in with Byron Donalds. That's how you know he's a liar. His strategy is just don't let anyone else speak or ask any questions. And she like stuck with it. She's like, I'm not going to let you lie. Specifically about this, what Trump said. And Byron Donalds is sitting on this stage, right? Like, and he had a huge altercation with Abby Phillip because she's like, you are lying. That is not true. Like, Trump does not have the lowest unemployment rate or poverty rate for African Americans. Like, that is Joe Biden. Why do you continue to lie? And he's sitting there after publicly being shamed by Abby Phillip. And she's not the only one to shame him over this. Byron Donalds continuously goes around lying about this. And they don't care. Like, the Republican Party is not interested in reality or the truth any longer. It's terrifying.
Felice, if a pig loses its voice, is it disgruntled?
Disgruntled. That's a good question.
What do you call a wizard who's bad at football?
What?
Fumbledore.
Fumbledore. I like that one. Fumbledore.
Kimmy says, what's long, hard, and full of semen?
A boat?
A submarine, yeah.
A submarine. It's long, hard, and full of semen. I need to remember that one.
And apparently senior citizens all over this country. Apparently, them also.
As we learn to remember, talk to your older parents about sex tonight. It's very important. Their STIs are out of control. I just think it's funny to look at the Chiron here. If you guys don't know, these things are called Chirons. Chiron. Chiron. Anyways, Trump, this is Newsmax, where the Chiron says Trump praises Newsmax. Really good, terrific. Like, how embarrassing for you, Newsmax. Like,
he said it. He said our name. He said our name.
That's their whole purpose. You know what I mean? Is to literally just cater to an authoritarian fascist, and like when he acknowledges that they're catering and lying for him, they get so excited about it, they point it out on the Chiron.
That really is so embarrassing, guys. That's tough. That's a tough look.
Is
But
Chiron
MAGA
spelled with a
will love
Y? If it is, sorry. Someone look that up. If it's spelled, yeah, CHY. Sorry if I said I. And thank you. Was it Ryan? Ryan C.
Thanks, Ryan.
Oh wait, did I play that clip? Sorry, I just talked about the Chiron and forgot to actually play the clip.
Former secretary and my really good friend for a long time, Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson.
Whoopsies. How good of friends do you think Ben Carson and Trump are? Like, notice
As good
how
a friend as you can be with Trump, probably.
and it's so obvious how he panders to well, yeah, not at all though, but like, and how often, even in Trump world, as someone who follows Trump a lot, like he never mentions Ben Carson, doesn't care about him. But now, today, because we're at a staged event at an African American church, right? Oh, my good friend for a long, long time, or he was like asking them also like, oh, Byron Donalds, like, you guys like Byron Donalds, right? It's so demeaning how he speaks to minorities. Like, he looks like you. Did you see that? And he's my friend. I'm pointing out that he looks like you, and he's my friend. So you're going to vote for me, right?
And then they were like, that's not Byron Donalds. And he's like, shit.
And the fact, like, this is what it is. Like, minorities have been through so much in this country and can vote for anyone they want. This is my personal belief, and I don't want to criticize it, but like, just how can you miss how he has absolutely no respect and believes that minorities have no intelligence? Like, that's what it is for me. I talk about it all the time. The biggest insult is when people insult my intelligence. Like, as a woman, I'm, people comment on my looks, and completely discount my brain at every turn. And that's how Trump, I don't believe that Trump in his mind is like, now I'm going to demean African Americans. Like, he truly just does not believe that their brains work.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think he thinks
Caucasian Americans.
of any of that. He believes the story that he's selling all the time, which is probably the only thing that's keeping him going at this point. Whatever Donald Trump says, he believes. It's the opposite of like most people. Sometimes we believe what we say. What Trump, like, he just lets the words come out. Remember that Michael Scott quote that's like, sometimes I start a sentence and I have no idea where it's going. Yeah, that's basically Trump. But the difference is like, then Trump will just double, triple, quadruple down on it. It's why he kept saying things like Covfefe's real. It's why he keeps doing the faucet thing. It's why he does the windmill thing, because he said something bizarre and everybody's like, what the fuck? And he's like, well, I'm just going to keep saying it.
That it becomes real to him.
And nobody else can explain it. Nobody knows what he's talking about. They also don't care. They're just like, yeah, right. And then not realizing that, oh, maybe he does this about other stuff too. Maybe there's other stuff he says this about, like the election being stolen, perhaps, or the two-tiered justice system, or anything he might say about Russia. Kels Bells, I saw it was your birthday. Happy birthday, Kels Bells.
Tap the screen, guys. Keep tapping the screen. I was gonna say, like, the reason Fauci was interviewed by Rachel Maddow last night, which is an amazing interview, is because he has this book coming out, and she was reading things that are in the book, and it's terrifying. Like, at one point during the COVID crisis, like near the beginning, Trump said to Fauci, "Why would I need a flu shot if I don't have the flu?" Like, he truly did not understand.
He thought it was medicine.
He thinks it's medicine. Like he didn't understand. Like, and there's many other things like that. And if hopefully we'll get to the Fauci interview today. If not, I suggest everyone go watch it, because that it's true. Like Trump's reality, because he's a narcissist. When you believe you're the highest power, the most intelligent, you can never be wrong. You end up being wrong a lot. But it becomes your reality. Like you just, because it couldn't be that he's wrong. Narcissists aren't wrong.
Really good friend for a long time, Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson. There's that man. He worked very hard. No scandal. No, everybody that heads HUD, there's scandal.
Hold on.
There was
Hold
no
on.
scandal.
Wait
That
just
4
a
years
goddamn
was
minute.
perfect. He did a
I
great
know.
job. And we
Wait
That's
just a
perfect.
goddamn
I
minute
know.
about scandals. Google Ben Carson HUD and see if any scandals come up. Just go ahead and Google it. The hell is he talking about? Ben Carson was embroiled. Didn't he have to leave his position? I know there was pressure. I could have sworn he had to leave the position at HUD.
Well, just like Trump doesn't think he's ever been involved in a scandal. It's like compared to Trump. I mean, maybe it's in comparison to you. Maybe Ben Carson's never been involved in a scandal. Like, I mean, it's so Freudian that he even points that out. Like the person involved in the most scandals of all time is somehow pointing out he's never involved in a scandal. I also think it's interesting because, again, we're talking to he has an African American audience, and he's going out of his way to point out, like, oh, here, like Ben Carson has no scandals. Like, it's very strange and insulting.
Yeah, I was going back. There was something about like he bought like a expensive like chair, or not lectern. That's what's her face. Or
Oh yeah,
desk or
that's
something.
Huckabee Sanders, the Lectern Gate. I'm still following Lectern Gate. Like that. That's funny.
Oh,
We
it was a
should talk about-
$30,000 desk, and then he had ethic concerns over his Baltimore listening tour. There was recently something that just came out about HUD that we covered, and I'm gonna have to go back and find it. But yeah, like he definitely wasn't scandal free.
Well, for the Republican Party, I guess maybe he was on the
Comparatively
the
speaking.
lower end of shameful scandals.
From Wasn't Me, I am Buzz Aldrin, second man to walk on the moon. Kneel before me.
Neil, sorry,
I
that's
love that.
a good one.
I
That's a
love that
really
one.
good one. I need
Gives
to
me an
remember that.
opportunity to work on my acting as well. I appreciate.
I was just
that,
seeing,
Wasn't Me.
like, there's a movie coming out with a bunch of famous people, like Scarlett Johansson, like, and it's basically like a fake moon landing. Like, if the moon landing was fake. Like,
Is that what that is? I
yeah,
saw the,
or something. Yeah,
I saw
it's an
the-
all-star, like, yeah, it's like a satire, I think, kind of thing. It looked.
All right, I'll watch that.
Oh, and here's Trump lying about the auto industry. This I particularly, because you remember he said not one, when he was running, he's like, not one plant's gonna close. No, don't move away. Like, not one plant's gonna close, and then they all lost their jobs.
Harley Davidson went to Mexico. Trump couldn't stop shit
the
from
auto
happening.
industry to Michigan. We're bringing it back to Michigan. We're going to bring back the auto, and I can tell you from our senator, we will work on that together, but we're going to bring back the auto country. It's going to be called auto country again. Because
Yeah, this is a guy who promised this before and did nothing of the sort.
It didn't happen. And look, frankly, it's because it's difficult to manufacture cars in America. It's not cost effective. That's mostly why these people left. Like, they can't compete when everybody else is building cars with cheap labor. It's really difficult to do.
And this, just to give you an idea of what we're going to see, like, this is Trump's best behavior of the day, right? He goes on to a white nationalist convention to speak, and that's where he
White Boy
really loves to
Summer?
have,
He
yeah,
went to
white boy
Summer
summer
directly after
convention,
this?
yeah, like to imagine pandering, right? Lying that you are speaking to a congregation of African Americans. You're not. You just rented a church and filled it with predominantly Caucasian people. Then you lie about the number of people there. Then you go on, right? The whole morning is centered around, look at me, I support the African American community. And then you head straight over to schmooze and shake hands and speak at a convention run by a man who literally spent African American Black History Month discrediting smearing Martin Luther King Jr., said that when he gets on a plane, if the pilot's black, he doesn't feel safe. Like, I mean, the things that it's like, this is the most insulting thing, lying and pandering to the African American community and then going and lying.
Yeah, and not only that, like White Boy Summer, that's Nick Fuentes. That's what they're throwing out. Jack Posibek's out there throwing out White Boy Summer flags. That stems from Nick Fuentes, and basically it's a response to Black History Month, calling it White Boy Summer. And what is what's his name? Nick Fuentes. He's a white nationalist, and self-avowed white nationalist, self-avowed schmatzi. So in one day, he's at a black church talking about how much he supports black people, and the next minute he's out there like at an event that's pumping out like schmatzi propaganda.
Sorry.
No, that was it.
Oh, so what and where I was going with this is, you'll see this is the best behavior while he's pandering to African Americans. And when we see him go over to the white nationalist White Boy Summer convention, he immediately shows what it's really about. When he starts talking, every single thing he's talking about is how he hates someone and he's a victim. Like, and he goes after Sean Fain, right? The United Auto Workers Association president. Like, that's why he's bringing up the auto industry. He's bitter about being called out for faking a union rally and being called out relentlessly by Sean Fain. I love Sean Fain.
Who again, and what's Sean Fain's role is simply to advocate for the workers. So when Donald Trump goes after Sean Fain, like, he is going after the workers. Sean Fain just did a great job negotiating with auto companies and getting his workers better pay, better benefits, better working conditions. Like, the workers are very appreciative of Sean Fain. So again, because Trump is so thin-skinned, he has to go after Sean Fain because Sean Fain went after him. But what does that say to the workers? Like, well, what if there's workers on the fence? I'm really starting to believe that there aren't some of the polling stuff that you show about people on the fence or undecided. I don't think they're undecided like they normally are. I don't think it's undecided Biden versus Trump. I think it's undecided on, do I want to vote for Biden or either a third party or stay home? Because I don't think there's really room on the fence with Donald Trump. I really don't think there's people that are on the fence. Anybody who says so, I think, is lying.
In that, I agree. In that article that I was mentioning, the one that if you want to debunk, it's Philip Bump's article that talks about that Trump's lying about the support of the African American communities for his campaign, and that's exactly like what you just said is one of the things that's in there. Like, it's not about Biden versus Trump, Biden. Let's say Biden isn't unpopular, or it's not because they support Trump, right? It's just because they're apathetic about Biden. Like, anyways, I'm just agreeing with you.
No, I agree with that. Sorry, I was responding, but I was muted. Sorry. I do that.
And I think all of them are voting for Trump. I don't know. I can't say maybe, but I'd say 99% of them. And if they aren't, I don't know what the hell the other side did, but we'll start an investigation or something, okay?
So that's Trump already planning, right? That he's saying that he's not going to accept the results of the election. We'll start an investigation. We're still investigating all the other elections you lost, weirdo.
More than 99% he said were voting for him?
I assume African Americans or the auto workers. I can't remember.
Is he making either way? What?
Yeah,
99%?
Yeah, he's basically just insert group here. 99% of these people are all voting for me, and if they don't, then we're gonna do an investigation because it's rigged. Like, this is delusional.
6% of the black vote?
He got 12%. 12% of the black vote in 2020.
Okay, and that is skyrocketed to 99%. That's wild.
I highly recommend that Philip Bump article on it because it's very interesting. It has nothing to do with Trump getting the support of African Americans.
Well, now I feel bad because I didn't think the sneakers and the felony worked, but apparently It worked. It was all sneakers and felonies. Now we're at 99%.
And that's in the article too. Read the Philip Bump article, because that he talks about that too. Just, it's about polling done and how offensive African Americans find it that Trump is saying to them, "Oh, Trump, I'm a felon and so are you. Vote for me." Like,
But this is another just example of the depravity and like the insanity of Donald Trump. Nobody would say this. Nobody would say 99% of insert group are going to vote for me. I don't think there is a group that exists in this country where 99% of that group are going to vote for one candidate, unless that group is like a political group, right? But outside of politics, I don't think that number exists anywhere. And so, of course, everybody agrees Donald Trump is wrong on 99%. Nobody believes 99% of any group is voting for Donald Trump, but he still said it. And
or
that's the
anyone
part
else.
I can't figure out with you guys. Why don't you care that he says shit like this? Why doesn't it bother you? How do you trust him? He never, ever, ever tells the truth. How do you get to a point where you believe in this person? Nothing he ever says is true. It's like you spend your whole time defending him, explaining why what he said wasn't really what he meant. I don't get it. How do you guys still fall for this shit?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's not even misinformation anymore. It's constant lies. Like, you have to love being a cuck, because that's what it is. That's what being in the Republican Party is. It's like being a cuck 24 hours a day. Oh, I already showed this picture. I guess I put it in twice. Again, this is just showing the lanyards that people at the African American church were actually Turning Point USA folks. Oh, and this is my last clip from the 180 church stuff. This is him talking about Byron Donalds. It's just so condescending.
So we have a great group of patriots, as you know. Byron Donalds is an incredible guy. Incredible. And I noticed he happens to be on the list of potential vice presidents. Would anybody like to see him as a vice president? I noticed your name is very high on the list. That's good. You should be on the list too.
Why? He has no qualifications. He's a felon. Like, literally, there's no one less qualified to be a vice president of this country than Byron Donalds. Like, he has how long has he been in the House? Like a couple of years. He bought and paid for by Rick Scott. Like, no, he's actually not qualified whatsoever. Like, Tim Scott is weird and got engaged just to be considered as a candidate, but Tim Scott is far more qualified than Byron Donalds.
Yeah,
far and away.
Yeah, there's some record there of doing something. Byron Donalds is just another like Freedom Caucus Republican. They don't pass any legislation, they don't get anything done, but they're really, really good on Fox News. I saw a stat on Jim Jordan. It was like 259 appearances on Fox News, 0 bills passed, and that's who the Republicans have become. You're not doing anything but just defending Donald Trump. Rumor has it RFK's getting tapped for VP, Drew. I would doubt that.
Yeah,
RFK's not a fan of Trump.
Yeah, rumor has it. Yeah, I believe it. MAGA rumors. Drew, you need to start hanging out in different places.
But if you do get RFK, like, great. I don't see how that. I mean, I guess unless you're worried that he's going to cost you the election.
He's a great running mate for Trump. Like this. Remember, Donald Trump is the guy. I was just reminded of this weekend. Donald Trump is the guy who's crying about he didn't get a fair trial in Manhattan. Meanwhile, took out full-page ads saying that the Central Park Five were guilty before their trial started and should be unalived for it, right? These were innocent people. He took out you want to talk about people who didn't get a fair trial? Took out full-page ads to say these people were guilty and should be unalived. If you don't
doubled down once they were exonerated. He still says it. Yeah.
Yeah. And RFK, which if you guys remember Michael Skakel and who was a Kennedy, related to the Kennedys. This is who unalived Martha Moxley. And then RFK a couple years ago brought out a book trying to pin it on Who? African Americans. And there's a great Washington Post article that came out. Just Google it. Go detailing this if you don't know the story. But with no evidence, made a book. And I think Michael Skakel actually, again, like, because his conviction goes back and forth every time the Supreme Court, I believe it's in Connecticut. It's either every time the state Supreme Court in Connecticut goes Republican, they lobby, bring the case back up, and they, like, set aside the conviction. Like, it's a crazy story, but yeah, the RFK and Donald Trump both love to pin crimes on innocent African Americans. But yeah,
And
vote for Trump.
I just also don't think that, like, the people voting for RFK that fall on that side of the aisle, like, that's probably a protest vote. If you're voting RFK and you're on the right, it's a protest vote. If you're voting RFK and you're on the left, it's also a protest vote. But I don't think the protest votes go to Donald Trump. I just don't. I don't see if he tried that. I don't see it being a big win. I think there's no shot that he brings on RFK, and I don't think there's any shot RFK chooses. I think, yeah, if he says it's going to be JD Vance, I kind of agree with that. I think it's going to be JD Vance.
I think a lot of money could come along with that because, like, JD Vance is from the tech industry, if you know his background, and he's a Peter Thiel candidate. Yeah, like, I think Trump's looking to bring in someone who probably has money. And also, oh yeah, this is a good time to also mention the article about that came out. If you haven't read it, there's an article, there's a tape out there of Trump saying the N-word floating around, and he said it during the first or second season of The Apprentice, right? And if you read that article that came out about that, what is going on is essentially Trump is furious at the producers because they wanted Kwame, I can't remember what his last name was. He was an African American man to win, and Trump was like, no, it has to be Bill Rancic. Like, I will not basically work with, I'm not hiring an African American.
I think it was something like, is the public ready for an N-word to win or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that?
well that's that quote. But, and I'm just talking about, like, I'm just saying, like, the reason that was being said was, yeah, he's refusing to hire, work around, or whatever African Americans. So it's very ironic that now he's, pretending that he cares about African Americans or wants to make them his VP. I mean, if he did do it, it'd just be opportunistic. But I agree, JD Vance probably comes with a lot of money.
Yeah, the problem he has is that the VP candidates he's thinking of that are black, like, they don't have stellar reputations. They don't really bring anything. They're not even that well respected within the Republican Party. They're not well respected in Congress. They don't have broad appeal. Like, the candidates that he's choosing from aren't candidates that really many people are going to get behind that he would need, right? He's not gonna get women voters back, right? He's not gonna get rhinos back. None of those people are gonna bring back. That's why I think it's JD Vance. And I think that what we saw is when Trump went to San Francisco after he tried to kill everybody in Arizona, there was a change in Donald Trump's tone. Have you noticed that? Like, he's been like this, like, let's get along kind of guy. It's a little bit of kumbaya. And I think he sat there with those billionaires and they said, look, we're going to fund you, but you gotta be a little more sensible. You've got to cool it. And I think that's what we've seen with Trump. Once he went on to that meeting with all those billionaires, who, again, JD Vance is tied into, his tone changed. And I think JD Vance is good enough at covering for Donald Trump that might be the pick.
Yeah, and just when you said that you think it'll be the pick, the only thing I could think of that might deter Trump from JD Vance would just be JD Vance is young and good looking and smart. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, Trump does not like to be next to someone that makes him look, older, less capable. So he could be a little intimidated, but I agree. Like, I actually think if Trump is really smart, his best move is Marco Rubio. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because that's still, he's Cuban still, and then they get the Hispanic vote. Like,
he's also historically been a foe, so it goes to show, like, oh, I can mend fences
together.
Over here.
Yeah, like, kind of a rhino, was viewed as a rhino. I think that it could be a good move for him as well. Oh, cool. Thank you for the heart.
Kimmy asks, why did Mozart sell his chickens?
Why?
Because they kept saying bok 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 bok.
Bok, bok. That's really funny. He's tired of the disrespect.
Johann Sebastian's got fans everywhere.
Okay, so again, now you can see the step and repeat behind that. It says turning point action. So now Trump has gone across town in Detroit to Charlie Kirk's event, right? And this is actually, I think I just put this clip in here. So I just want to play this because I'm just going to play it really quick. But you know how we were talking about Trump forgot Ronnie Johnson's name? Well, it called it Roddy. Like during this, I'm just gonna start with this clip. Yeah, Trump. This is the whole like a long clip of when Trump calls Roddy Jackson Roddy Johnson. Like this, the point of this is Trump is trying to say that Biden has signs of dementia and is incapable and needs to take a cognitive test. And while trying to make this point, he gets the name wrong of the man that gave him the test. So forever and always, Roddy Johnson will be known as Ronnie Johnson because I don't know what is more apropos. You're trying to smear your opponent, making up lies, saying they are showing signs of dementia and need to take a cognitive test, and you can't remember the name of the person that gave it to you. Like, this stuff only happens to Donald Trump.
Joe Biden has no plan. He's got absolutely no plan. He doesn't even know what the word inflation means. I don't think if you gave him a quiz, I think he should take a cognitive test like I did. I took a cognitive test and I aced it. Doc Ronnie Johnson, does everyone know Ronnie Johnson, congressman from Texas? He was the White House doctor. And he said I was the healthiest president he feels in history. So I liked him very much immediately. In fact, he said if I didn't eat junk food, I would live to 200. That's what he said. But I said, Ronnie, should I take a test? He said, well, it's Walter Reed. It's sort of a public hospital. If you don't do well, they're going to find out about it. I said, well, like I'm a smart person. How tough is it? He said, it gets very tough as you get to the middle of it. And I did something that he's never seen done. I aced it. I got every question right. I aced it. In front of a lot of people.
In front of a lot of people. Like, that's not how they work. And you don't take cognitive tests in front of a lot of people. Like, there's so many lies. And they also don't grade it on an A, B, C.
Man,
not everything
plain
he said is an
apple
absolute lie. But
tree.
yeah, most importantly, so no, you don't need to correct me when I say Roddy Johnson. I'm doing it purposely because there's nothing funnier than accusing somebody of showing signs of dementia and then saying you aced a cognitive test and getting the name wrong of the man who gave it to you over and over. Where'd you go?
Was that the Ron
I
Johnson?
didn't know if you were God or you just put your head down.
I just had to pee. I've been drinking a lot of water. I have a really sore throat, so I'm having to like pound liquids, and
Oh, I know what I'm doing. Sorry.
it makes me have to pee all the time.
I forgot where my clips were. Oh my gosh. I'm just remembering some of these clips as we're scrolling. Oh, you guys are, I mean, laugh or cry. There's some crazy things that were being said at this conference. Oh my God.
I got a pretty good TikTok out of Lara Trump.
Jeez.
I'm guessing
unreal.
this is the part you're going to show.
Yeah, so again, now I'm under the Turning Point USA section and
Shut
starting at the bottom.
Yes. Casey. By the way, while we're playing these, if there are conservatives in the chat that would like to discuss any of this, the box is open for you guys. So you're welcome up anytime in case you're just joining. Except for Ty. You're in timeout for a little while over here, Ty. You're going to have to go to some other places for a bit.
Dale, I want to talk to Dale. I miss you.
Oh, good. That would give my voice a rest.
Oh, I kind of meant I want you. When I say that, I don't mean me. I more mean I would like to listen to you talk to.
Also sending a loud and clear message out there to anyone who thinks about cheating in an election. If you cheat in an election, we will find you, we will track you down, and we will prosecute you to the full extent of the law. I'm
truly glad that she's saying this at this turning point gathering, because ironically all the people who've recently been indicted for election crime are employed by Turning Point or the RNC. So I do think it's important that we do. You know how many people work for the RNC that are under indictment for exactly what they're threatening to prosecute people for?
Yeah,
So
the thing I find interesting about this is that this isn't new for them. They've been trying to prosecute people for stealing the election, and none of it works. None of it has stuck. They don't have any evidence. This isn't new, and you're not going to do it because it's not going to be stolen. You're just going to lie about it being stolen again. Like it's this is one of the dumbest things MAGA does, for sure. The stolen election thing is it their dumbest conspiracy theory? I'd have to think about it. But if it's not, it's right at the top. Like, you've lost every case. You've lost every recount. You've lost every audit. There is literally no the movie that you guys all relied on has been proven to be false. The people providing the data for these court cases have had to testify under oath, yeah, we don't have any proof. Like,
yeah,
that's what's
2,000
crazy.
mules. You guys look it up. They just admitted in federal court they never had any whistleblowers. They never had any data. There's no proof.
Also, why does Charlie Kirk look like he's like in there? He's always being recorded up close with like
say so many
a
things
with a
about Charlie
GoPro.
Kirk. I
Like
will.
his head looks
Refrain.
like it's a GoPro selfie. I just find, like, his body's further away from his head.
Oh, and I think just to go to what you were saying about like this is ridiculous and it's all a lie. Like there's yeah, like we were going over the Georgia article, the Rolling Stone article about what they're doing in Georgia. Like it's so true. I was one of these articles, I can't remember which one right now, but it was just talking about how, Trump was saying we're gonna prevent in 2020. That was the story. Okay, we're gonna crack down on election crime, and there were 50,000 poll watchers. That was their thing, because they were allowed to have poll watchers because something was set aside in the court. I can't remember what made it possible, but they had 50,000 poll watchers, of which people found nothing. Right. But still, here
Submitted
we are in
affidavits.
2024,
Yeah.
where, their new thing this year is we're doubling the amount of poll watchers. So now we're going to have 100,000 poll watchers watching nothing. Like,
Yeah, and by the way, poll watchers already exist. And the poll watchers have been probably the biggest problem in these cases, because almost all of the evidence that Republicans relied on for these stolen election claims came from either like poll watchers or poll workers. And all of them were affidavits of people swearing that they saw something that they did see but wasn't corrupt, right? Like, remember when they pulled the whatever, the bins out from under the table? Everybody's like, this is proof. And it's like, oh no, that's just where they store them. They don't just that's where they're stored, right? Or people saying, I saw somebody put something in a machine. It's like, okay, they were supposed
yeah,
to do that.
the ballots.
Every time the affidavit was either something they couldn't prove or something that was just a process that they didn't understand because they hadn't done this before.
Yeah,
The poll workers were the problem.
Sorry, I just read a comment and I wasn't thinking and I started talking. Sorry to interrupt
That
you.
was the end.
Heather in the comments was saying it's an intimidation tactic against minorities. Yeah, and that's what in the article I was reading, that's what they were explaining, that previously, like, poll watchers, they were limited or not allowed, like there was like one or two, but you couldn't, because that's the history of poll watching. It was to essentially gather around and intimidate African Americans from standing in line and voting, because you might be lynched. They could go after family. God knows what would happen when they were, federally they were allowed to vote. But it took people like Medgar Evers, returning from World War II, young African American guys who said, yeah, I guess I will just go have the shit beaten out of me in order to vote. Like, that's what poll watchers were. That's the history. It's intimidation.
Joanne, I know you said only the voters can put something in a machine. That's the point. People were saying that people were putting stuff in machines, but when it would turn out that it was just like a box that they were dropping. So the machines sometimes print things out, and then they would seal those and they would drop them in either a box or a folder. And what people were seeing, they didn't understand the process. So they're like, oh my God, they're taking votes. Instead of putting them in the machine, they're putting them over here, but they weren't votes. That's the point, is that what they thought they were seeing isn't what they were seeing. They just didn't know what they were seeing.
Oh, this is a good one from Lara.
And it can start as easy as this. Step 1, buy a MAGA hat.
Oh,
Step 2, go
this
in
is
public
crazy.
with that MAGA hat.
I see a lot of them here.
Right? No,
Yes.
this is important. Step 3, someone comes up and compliments your MAGA hat. Step 4, ask them if they're registered to vote. If they are not, show them how they can get registered to vote.
Great one, Charlie.
This is when you know Charlie Kirk doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. You know who everybody hates? People who wear their personality as clothing. Nobody likes the person that like wears their opinion on a goddamn t-shirt. Nobody wants to be around that person. When I see somebody with a MAGA hat, I don't see Republican. I see, oh, this is somebody that like their entire personality is this, right? When people dress up like that, it's not saying like, it's not like on the 4th of July, you might throw on a flag shirt or like, you know, some overalls or whatever, like try and look more American. This is somebody saying, hey, if you talk to me, this is what we're going to talk about. Like Charlie Kirk has no idea how to operate as like a normal human. There's a video that Charlie Kirk's wife put out. She streamed, or it was like a series of Instagram stories of them at the zoo. Just Charlie, his wife, their kids at the zoo. This is not a human that knows how to interact with other humans. It's a human who can stand on a stage and say things that people want to hear, but you get him outside of like the MAGA cult. This is not a human that operates in a way that people be like, I really want to be around him. This is terrible advice, and I hope that all of you MAGA listen to him and take that advice. It's really, really bad advice. This will not get you more votes. It will get you less.
I agree. I think, it's going to do the opposite. It's going to anger people. And here, this is the quote. This is the one I was talking about.
What do we want from you? We want you to get your vote banked. We're taking care of the rest at the RNC. We are ensuring that vote counts. However you can vote. Early vote, mail-in vote, whatever you need to do, get your vote in as early and in whatever way you can. And then you take every day from that moment up until election day, taking somebody to go vote. Take your friends, again, take your family, drive them in your car if you have to, buy them a sandwich if you have to, after we know the Democrats love to do that.
Well, no, actually, remember we learned in Georgia, they recently, they've stopped. You can't buy anyone food in line. That's the Republicans. That's another way they try to make the line so long for minorities to vote, by limiting polling places. Then they said you can't provide anyone food or anything as they wait. But ironically, right, so they're disenfranchising minority voters, trying to make it impossible for them to vote. But here we have Lara Trump talking about early voting, mail-in. Did you hear her say mail in your ballot?
Yeah, they've really changed. That's what I was going to point out. Republicans, Charlie Kirk's been on this kick. I think I covered it while you were gone. Charlie Kirk.
Oh, well, yeah, because Charlie Kirk is not an idiot, right? And he knows they need mail-in ballots and early voting.
But the thing they keep saying that, again, when you say like MAGA loves being lied to, he and Lara Trump are like, don't worry, we're going to take care of it. How? You guys you're not in control. How? You had control and you couldn't fix this election from being stolen. How are you doing it now? You don't have the presidency, you don't have the votes you don't have the Senate, and you don't have enough votes to pass anything in the House. What are you doing? You don't have this? Nothing has changed. And this is when you know that MAGA is just lying to your face. And MAGA, I gotta ask you again, why the fuck do you allow this to happen? They haven't changed anything. Nothing has been fixed from the stuff they claimed were problems. And now they're out here saying, hey guys, mail-in voting, early voting, vote however's most convenient for you. The very thing that they said cost them the last election because it was so corrupt, now they advocate for, but they recognize that there's going to be people who are like, wait, what? And so they just say, don't worry about it, we've got you. But they don't got you. Like, if we really stole the 2020 election, guess what? We're going to steal it harder this time because we have more power this time. So if we really are those people, you think you losing control of the presidency and only having a tiny majority in the House, like that fixed it? Okay.
Well, and
Why do you guys believe this shit?
Well, that's kind of what I was about to say. Like, why can't you recognize that they are saying one thing and doing another? Like, that's again, MAGA, this is an insult to your intelligence. They spent years telling you how corrupt and only on the day of voting in person, that we get rid of paper or mail-in ballots. Like, this isn't safe. We got to get rid of the machines. All of this, and now they're saying the exact opposite. Like, just that alone, can you not see that you're a mark?
Amber, this is interesting. Amber says, I have about 60 MAGA family. They refuse to vote because it's rigged. I agree.
Great
MAGA.
News.
It is rigged. Why even waste your time voting? Sit this one out.
Exactly. If the elections are, as we know, these are the last election was the most safe we've ever had. But yeah, if it's rigged, there's no point. That is the irony also of what Trump has done with the big lie, right? He's disenfranchised and demotivated a lot of people out of voting. Like, and I too have family members, like MAGA family members, who have said that to me. Like, there's no point in even voting. It's just all fake. It's just all rigged. It's like Donald Trump did that to himself.
Dale says GOP has to cheat so hard so Dems get the point. Oh, okay. They're teaching us a lesson, Felice.
Oh,
they don't want to cheat.
Look at those mental gymnastics Dale has to do.
Thanks for the lesson, Dale. We appreciate it. Where would we be without conservatives?
Do you see the cognitive dissonance? Like, it's like, instead of just doing Occam's razor, like, oh, the answer with the least variables, the most simple answer is usually the right one. No, I'm gonna do U-turns and backflips, and I'm gonna make sense of this somehow. It's an Uno reverse. That's what it is.
I was on with Jeff yesterday. I wish I could remember who I was talking to. But I was like, it seems like with you guys, like, what you do is you take the least obvious answer, the one with the least amount of evidence, and you go with that every time. And he said, yeah, well, everybody knows that it's usually the thing with the least amount of evidence that is true. I'm like, oh, no, that's the opposite. Like, Occam's razor is the exact, you just did it. You just proved that, like, the way that you guys operate is whatever is least likely to be true is what you're most likely to believe. And I was thinking about that last night, and this is the sad part. This didn't happen overnight, but it happened because you have a guy at the top who keeps getting caught doing things and tells you that, like, what you don't believe your lying eyes. And eventually you've become conditioned to believe that everything you don't like is either a lie or it's just corruption. Right? No matter the amount of evidence, just anything you don't like, you get to toss aside. And you get to have dumb opinions like, let's take ivermectin. You get to have dumb opinions like the election was stolen. Why? Because there's no evidence of it. And that is what makes you believe it when there's no evidence. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that guy was close, right? Like, he's probably thinking the thing with the least amount of evidence is true, because it's variables, right? Which evidence and variables are not in any way the same thing. But he was trying. He was trying.
I mean, you think about, like, the confluence of people who believe that the moon landing was fake. That you have people who doubt the numbers from the Holocaust. You have people who think the election was stolen. You have the anti-vax people. All of them, they have one thing in common. They only believe things that don't have evidence. And you only get that way by being conditioned. You don't just wake up that day. You get conditioned that way. And so one of two things are true. Either truly we live in a country where we're so good at lying to you that only you guys know the truth, or you've been duped by a con man. And there's a lot of evidence that the guy that you're listening to is a con man. Like a lot.
Don't bring up evidence to these people. They can't stand it. Oh, here's another classic by Lara.
So you have to make that contrast for people out there, because there are some people who watch the wrong thing out there, get their news from the wrong information sources, and they've been bamboozled a little bit, shall we say.
Oh, Freud would have a heyday with these people. Yes, Lara, that's very, very true what you're saying. Perhaps you could be speaking of yourself and the people in this auditorium. It's all.
I don't know what to do. That's the thing. Like, I don't know what to say to that. Like, how do you get through to somebody like that? You're constantly telling people, don't believe your lying eyes, don't believe reality. If you're basically saying, if you see something on the news and it doesn't jive with you, like, you're on the wrong place. Your news should be telling you what you want to hear, and if it's not telling you what I'm saying, then it's in the wrong place. Also, stop watching the news. Just start reading. That would be easier. You could read some stuff.
Well, it just takes further investigation, right? You can watch any news you want. I learned by watching Newsmax, but like that's because I hear something, right? And then I look at, and then you have to go a step further and do some more research and realize what's true and what's not true. Like if you accept everything you hear as gospel, right? Whether you're getting for the left or the right, you're in trouble. Critical thinking requires investigation. Oh, and this is like Rick Scott again.
One more thing I want to point out. Just remember that this woman who's speaking has no motherfucking credentials. None. She should not be on stage telling anybody anything about politics. She has her position for one reason and one reason only. She is family, and Donald Trump controls her. Lara Trump is not qualified for that position. Lara Trump is not somebody who anybody has ever looked to as a thought leader. She only became one when Trump put her there and said, repeat all the things that I say. It's crazy to me that there are people out there like, I can't wait to hear what Lara Trump has to say. Why? Why? She wasn't even involved in the last administration. She was just hanging out. Has she ever said anything that was profound? No. Why are you guys listening to her? At least Charlie Kirk has been around. At least he's like worked on elections before. But Lara Trump, what credentials?
Oh yeah, she's completely unqualified. She's exactly like her husband. Like
Oh,
you don't. Well, I'm just saying. Well, I mean,
cement.
of the Trump's kids, like Eric's the least qualified to be talking.
They're just day laborers. That's what they are.
Yeah, Eric's
Eric
just
and
pouring
Laura.
concrete, building houses with his dad. You know what I mean? Building the New York skyline. But yeah, like I'm not. Lara and Eric are a great pair, both underqualified to be speaking out loud.
Sully says, I am a protector who sits on a bridge. Only one person can see through me while others cannot. What am I?
A protector.
I'm a protector that sits on a bridge. Only one person can see through me while others cannot. What am I?
A windshield?
It was close. It was good. Sunglasses.
Sunglasses. Oh, okay.
On the
That's
bridge
good.
of your nose. Yeah, that's pretty good. Sully.
Oh, I got it.
Still, Sully, and also thank you for the comment and the donation, and fuck you.
Okay.
I'm not over it yet.
Rick Scott is just shouldn't be doing public speaking. Like this man is so out of touch. Again, he shouldn't. It's really embarrassing. He should also be quiet. Like again, this is Rick Scott, former CEO of a health company, largest Medicare fraud in Florida history. This man has hundreds of millions of dollars made by his like golden parachute severance package with this deal. Literally got hundreds of millions of dollars off it. I'm just reminding everyone who Rick Scott is. Then is now lobbying to destroy Medicaid and Social Security. So and Medicare. Just want to throw all of those things out. Like
Plus.
Oh yeah, so much more.
Yeah, he led an army against Hogwarts. He uses
I
the
was going to call him
curse.
Skeletor, but
he has a large pet snake that follows him around.
You think he's Snape?
He killed Dumbledore. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't kill
That's
Dumbledore,
true.
but he made sure Dumbledore died. Tried to kill Harry.
Which
Yeah.
is well, and that's what he's doing to Mitch McConnell again. Not to get too far off subject, but this is the guy, right? This is MAGA's candidate. This is who wants to succeed Mitch McConnell. If the golden boy John Thune or one of the three John Barrasso from Wyoming doesn't win, this is the guy that is going to be in charge of the Senate. This is terrifying. That's why we need to vote for also Brooks in the Senate. Like a vote for Larry Hogan, even though Larry Hogan is a pretty decent human being, right? Like he's kind of like a John McCain, Mitt Romney type. But if Larry Hogan is elected, if Angela Also Brooks is not elected in Maryland, a vote for Larry Hogan is essentially a vote for Snape to be in charge.
No,
of
not
the
Snape.
Senate.
Voldemort.
I'd be Voldemort. Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know why I kept saying Snape.
That's
I knew
all
that
right.
was wrong. For Voldemort to be in charge of the Senate.
Mr. Burns he also looks like Mr. Burns.
Yeah.
That may be even better. Mr.
That's a
Burns
good
might be
one. It's a
yeah.
combination.
Yeah.
It's like if you could mold like Voldemort and Mr. Burns together.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a classic for Rick Scott. This is
And if you don't know what to expect here, expecto a dum dum.
Yeah. Keep in mind, this is a man with hundreds of millions of dollars got provided to him through a Medicare fraud.
Paying people not to work. We got crime rampant. No, they go prosecute Donald Trump. But boy, if you go beat up a cop, nothing happens to you. So when I was a kid, I was worried enough if I did anything wrong about my mom, but I knew something I'd be held accountable, right? But not anymore. We're appeasing dictators all over the world, in China, Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua. They can do it, Iran, name it. We appease them, and then we wonder why, wonder why the left is taking over the world.
You can't even, you know what I'm saying? It's just, you can't even. These people are unbelievable.
He just named all of the people Donald Trump loves most.
And notice how he left out Putin.
Dictators, they were at fucking CPAC. They were your guys' invited guests at CPAC. The audacity for this man to be like, when I was a kid, I worried about consequences. Excuse me, bitch. Remember when you scammed all of Florida
and
there
had
were
no consequences?
Yeah, what are you talking? This is a self-report. That's what this is.
Projection.
You could punch a cop and nothing happens. No, that's not true. You can get paid not to work. What? Excuse me? What? When I say everything Republicans believe is a lie, every single thing he said there was a lie. Every single one of them. How do we get to this point? That is crazy. Of course you can't punch a cop. Of course you can't do that.
Yeah, and while I was gone, so we didn't get to talk about it, did you see that the DOJ 100-page report that came out about the Phoenix police?
We covered that.
119 people have been unalived, not counting where Jay lives, not counting, you know what I mean, the suburb.
That's right. Do you know who wanted
We're just talking about the city in which I live. 119 people no longer with us. Oh, shocker, surprise, they're minorities.
You know what I learned this last week that I didn't know before, and you weren't here for it? Only a handful of police officers in Mesa have been fired for discharging a weapon.
I know, I do know that.
Did you know one of them is Andy Biggs' son? Mr. I care about Hunter Biden. I care about Hunter Biden's drug problem, but one of the only officers to lose their job for discharging a weapon was Andy Biggs' son when he did it when he was off duty. Oh, imagine that.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And again, when Trump was just here in Phoenix recently doing his rally, you know, when 11 people had to go to the hospital with heat stroke because he left them outside. Well, who was one of his invited guests on stage?
50 now. That number's at 50 now.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well,
yeah, I heard it this morning. It's at 50 now.
Well, that's not surprised. You leave people out to 108 degrees. Bad things happen to them. But one of his invited guests on stage was Sheriff Joe, who was literally, did horrific things, unconstitutional things to minorities, basically stopped people just because they were brown, and tried to deport them, among many, many other things, who received a pardon from Donald Trump. One of Trump's many pardons.
It led to one of the greatest interviews ever, though, when he was running for Senate. He didn't make it through the primary. He was being interviewed, and they're like, so do you think convicted felons should be able to run for Senate? He's like, I'm not a convicted felon. And they're like, well, yeah, you are. And he's like, no, I'm not. They're like, well, then you can't be pardoned. You either are or you aren't. But you can't get a pardon if you're a convicted felon.
So that's a very good point.
And Mr. Law Enforcement's like, oh, I didn't know that. I don't know how that works. Yeah. Thanks, Sheriff Joe. I remember when I first moved to Arizona, I was doing door-to-door sales while I was in school, and I went out to this place. I can't remember.
You can take the Mormon out of Utah.
That's right. I think it might be called Gold Valley or something. It's not Gold Canyon. It's on the other side of the mountain.
Oro Valley or whatever. Yeah.
No, this is a place I've never been back. It's impossible to get to. If you leave Apache Junction and then you like once you're outside of it, you turn left and you go around the backside. There's like this retirement community, and we went there. We were working, and like nobody was home because they were all down at the senior center listening to Joe Arpaio. And I've never heard old white people so happy in my life. They loved Sheriff Joe.
Oh, they loved him. Yeah. Like the more unconstitutional, horrific crimes he committed in this state against minorities, the boomers were just like, yeah, this is amazing.
Putting them in pink underwear, Tent City.
Oh yeah, Tent
they
City.
loved that.
That was another crime against humanity.
One of the weirdest things about Republicans is like their thirst for revenge and their thirst for violence on
retribution.
Criminals. Yeah, retribution. That's a better. Yeah, like they love saying things like we should bring back the death penalty. We should bring back public executions. All that stuff. Like if you commit a crime, you should be treated as a slave. It's a strange dichotomy from the Christians. How much they want to like hurt other people.
Okay, so this is good.
Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer says, "How many votes do you need?" And Mitch McConnell shows up with them. And now we have Green New Deal's junk that's killing fossil fuels and causing oil prices or gas prices to go up all across the country because McConnell gives them.
He's a terrible public speaker. I just need to say, he's saying McConnell. Because McConnell gets him. He's saying that he's basically accusing Mitch McConnell of whipping votes for Chuck Schumer and the Democrats.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. That's what it is.
Again, sure. He's mad at McConnell because the most feared creature in the DC swamp, Mitch the Turtle McConnell. Rick Scott came for Mitch McConnell. Rick Scott opposed Mitch McConnell when he was up for minority leader of the Senate, and if you remember what happened, Mike Lee backed Rick Scott, and then when Mitch McConnell assumed power, because Mitch McConnell always wins, Rick Scott was kicked off his committees,
right?
As was Mike Lee. Like, this is a personal thing for Rick Scott. He can't wait for Mitch McConnell to go. Either can the rest of us.
I also just want to point out that like the characters around Trump are not influential people, right? Like that's the problem with having your entire movement built around a guy that nobody is allowed to outshine. You can only bring around sycophants. Like this shit doesn't work unless you're already in. This is why I'm going to keep saying it. I think that MAGA is in massive trouble. I think Republicans are in trouble. I think they're going to get just absolutely destroyed in this election. It's because of this. Like, people either love Donald Trump or they hate him. And most of America hates him. Like 70% of America can't stand the guy. And I don't know how much of that 70% is going to come out to vote. But if he keeps making enough people angry, then more and more people are going to come out to vote. And surrounding yourself with a bunch of sycophants whose their goal every time they get on stage is not to say something to motivate people. It's not to spread their own message. It's to get in Donald Trump's good graces. They want that MAGA money. They want that MAGA support. They want to feel cool. They want to feel loved. That's what they all do when they take stage. It's a performance for Trump. And that, like, when we say things like "dear leader" and "this is authoritarian," like, that's what we're talking about. This is weird. This is the weirdest shit. The other grown-ups are just like, get up, and all they speak about is how much they love Trump or how bad everybody's picking on them. Again, have you heard any solutions here? I haven't heard any solution. I haven't heard any policy. I haven't heard any solutions. I just hear complaining, and Trump is gone.
And it will get worse. It just gets worse and worse. That's this whole turning point. Actually, you should have heard Steve Bannon. It's just whining about how they're victims, and then the irony is then in the next breath talking about who they're going to victimize. Saying like, "Look at me, I'm a victim. It's so awful." Oh, you're gonna tell me a joke? Go for it.
This one is. Be ready. Be on your toes.
I never
here. This
am
one's
with
great.
These, so
this is from Wasn't Me. What did Yoda say when he saw himself in 4K?
What?
HDMI.
HDMI. That's a good one. That's actually that's like a with the times. I don't even think my parents would know what that meant. You would have to know like what HDMI is.
And Mel says, thanks for your efforts. Thank you, Mel. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mel. Okay, Christy, and you notice Christy's kind of fallen off. I did think for a while, ever since Cricket, her dog Cricket that's no longer with us because she unalived him in a gravel pit. That really took a hit. I just want to give you an example though. Like, I don't like Christy Noem at all. She's awful. But it's the misogyny though. If anyone else, if Trump said that he'd unalived a dog, that would have been fine. Like, I just want to point out for some reason, like, you know what I'm saying?
There's still some misogyny, yeah.
There's still some misogyny, but anyways, this is a great one.
Well, everybody knows it's the men's job to kill your pets. Women's role is in the kitchen. It's the men's job to kill your pets.
Exactly. To prepare the food once they unalive it and bring it to the kitchen. Yes. Got it.
Jay called. You see Jay?
Justice for Cricket. I see people type that all the like every time there's a clip.
Do you see that?
Oh
Crusty
yeah, that's a good one.
I like that.
Every time there's a clip on X of Christy Noem, you should read the comments. It's always like justice for Cricket, like also hide your dogs, hug your dogs. It's just so I can't get enough of it.
It's incredible, isn't it, that our founders were that young and they gave us this gift of this country.
This is ridiculous.
Now, they were taking on the strongest military in the world, and those colonists went and picked up their personal hunting rifles and their muskets and decided to go fight for freedom. Now, if they can do that, we can do what we have to do this election cycle, can't we?
I don't think she did well on like the analogy section of the SAT. Like, just so many things wrong there. I don't know.
Also, you're leaving out the French. I don't know why we do this in America. Like, I know we have this American exceptionalism, like we won the war. Like, no, France. Like, France is the reason we won the Revolutionary War.
Topographical.
It wasn't the muskets, the personal muskets.
And topographical advantages. I mean, I could get it. Yeah, like the same reason we probably enjoy our freedom and don't get attacked often now. Like there's there's advantages to our position on the map. Like England had a big military, but it was mainly a navy, right? Like they ruled the seas through naval blockades. Like if you didn't do what they said or whatever, then you would be blockaded and you would be cut off from supplies. Like it's not like they had some huge fighting force to come and like take over. It's absolutely ridiculous. But that's what she believed. And also just notice, like it's like, this is what the fascists are. They're victims, first and foremost, but then they're also, right, in their mind, that's what she's saying. They believe this is the Revolutionary War.
Which doesn't make a ton of sense. Like
it does not. It would make more sense if she said Civil War.
Yeah, you're rallying around one person. You're rallying around a guy who's saying, like, we need to give the executive branch more control. Like, the founding fathers were young. The very antithesis of like conservatives. You know what the founding fathers weren't? Fucking conservatives. You know what they were? Progressives, militant progressives. You guys get mad at the militant, like the militant aspect of Antifa. Well, there's your founding fathers. That's who our founding fathers were, a militant wing of Antifa. So stop trying to compare yourselves to them. You are conservatives. You are the redcoats. You are the ones who were like, hey, the king was nice enough to let us be on this land. Let's keep sending the taxes to the king.
You guys are the turncoats.
You guys weren't out there protesting, throwing the tea in the bay. You think you guys were like the tea people? You think that was you?
That out.
Hell no, you guys would have been like, hey, they deserve all the money because they're the ones that started the tea. You guys aren't you're not the patriots.
That's the point of the Conservative Party. Please understand what you stand for, but they don't even know that. Like, it's for nothing to change. You guys aren't the people that wanted change. You guys are the people that were like, well, things are pretty good here, and
conservatives are responsible for 0% of the changes the good changes that we've made in this country. 0%. Nothing significant that we've ever done in this country has been done by conservatives. It's always been progressives.
Yeah, your only job is to stop change, to stop progress. That's what you guys are. The dig your heels in and whine people.
There can be challenges. People will attack you, and maybe you've seen a few attacks on me lately. They just seem to keep coming. I think they're scared of me. I think that's the problem.
I think we're scared you'll be around our dogs.
Yeah, correct. Hold your dogs, people. I should have said hugs your dogs tightly while you listen to this clip. Like, that's not true. I did attach in the outline, which you can put in there, a Politico article, which basically talks about, like, 2 years ago, before this book came out, her team was already telling her to not put this story out. She's acting like she's just some victim of circumstance. Like, everyone told you not to do this, told you what would happen if you did, and you made the choice to do it anyways.
It'll be fine. It's fine. You guys, you're overreacting. Nobody's going to care about. They're all going to see my point.
So again, this is a Republican refusing to take accountability. Her choices, right, unaliving a dog in a gravel pit, then deciding, even though against the advice of your whole team, deciding, no, it's part of my story. I want to tell this in my story in my book. And then she's on stage saying, I'm a victim like, of yourself, baby.
And that is what conservatism is. You say things that people don't like, and then people are like, I don't like that. And you go, I'm a victim. No, you're unpopular. Sorry. Like, I don't know what happened. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. The things that you say are wildly unpopular. Welcome to America. Sorry. You're not victims. You're unpopular. There's a big difference.
Guys, keep tapping the screen. Let's get to 300K. We're almost there. We could do it. We're like the last 25 minutes of the live. Let's really work out those fingers.
What do you think the breaks are like during like these CPAC things? Like, all right, we're gonna have a 20-minute break and we'll be back. The hallway conversations must be the most insane fucking conversations you've ever heard.
There's like, tons of Capitol Hill blogs and stuff I read, because that's who knows what's going on. Like, these people's staffers, and a lot of information I've learned about MAGA came like in right after the midterm elections, came from blogs about America, like just what you're saying, like America Fest. It's like just this, but in Phoenix. Like, it happens every year. And remember, someone, you were debating someone, I don't think it was on our live, but I just remember her being like, why are people saying that Don Jr. has a problem with illicit substances? And I'm like, well, it wasn't, when I really read about it in detail, was from his own team and staffers who in blogs were describing backstage at a Turning Point USA at America Fest, this exact event, but in Phoenix, how he could barely speak. Like, they paid him $60,000 speaking fee along with his girlfriend, Guilfoyle, too, and they were out of their minds.
Yeah, the thing about snow, we'll call it
allegedly.
Snow. The thing about nose candy is the side effects or the symptoms of nose candy are very obvious to anybody who's ever been around it or done it. It's not something that you can really hide. And Don Jr. does a lot of podcasts, and he doesn't hide it very well.
I should have said jump scare. And now we come. I know, sorry. Now we come to margarine. Like, and I was looking at, like, the Turning Point USA, like the list of speakers who were there. It was just as bad as America Fest. I really am sorry this happened to you, Michigan.
Just tell you that Marge doesn't bother me so much in that she's Marge. Like, I've met crazy people before. My problem with Marge is that she got elected. And I think that is the most, like, we make fun of politicians all the time. And I'm sure those of you here on the right have some lefties that you'd like to make fun of too. But I think we should all be able to agree that Marge being in Congress is the most depressing thing about our Congress. This person should not be anywhere near a microphone. This is not a person who should be allowed to vote on serious things. This is not a serious person. This is a lunatic. And she's going to be in office for a long, long time because she comes from a very dumb, very red district. This is somebody we're going to be dealing with for a long time. And that's the part to me that I hate the most about Marge. There was somebody else she was running against that was better. Anybody she ran against was better.
Yeah. Oh, thanks a lot, 14th District of Georgia. Guys, again, this is our Cash App and Venmo. If you would like to donate to us, we do rely on your donations and tips to keep our show going, and we appreciate them so very much. And we're almost to 300K. Keep tapping the screen, and I apologize in advance for what you're about to hear.
Before you hear that, for sale, one DeLorean, only driven from time to time.
Back to the time to time, well back to the future. I get it.
Yeah, well done, wasn't me.
That's right. And any Democrat and any person from the mainstream media and anyone that wants to continue to shame us for January 6th can go to hell.
What's she yelling?
It's just
there. It's the. I
see you there, Marge.
Yeah, like she's almost magic, right? Like I think it's pretty impressive that Marge, all she has to do is step to a podium and start talking, and millions and millions of American men's penises just go back inside of them. They run. Her voice makes me like physically ill.
Oh, I know.
That's what. Why is she yelling?
Always.
Why are you talking about January 6th? I heard her say, like, I'm tired of being called an insurrectionist. Don't be a fucking insurrectionist. That's what I would recommend to anybody who's tired of being called an insurrectionist. Don't be one. Is a good idea.
I could not agree more with that.
Like,
statement.
Can you think of like politics or whatever aside? Can you think of a dumber thing to hold on to than January 6th, than defending January 6th?
No, I cannot. Oh, the party of rule of law and order, defending crimes being committed. It makes absolutely no sense. It's the dumbest hill to die on. Like, period.
Yeah. Well, come back. Conservative Patriot, welcome.
Trump was found innocent of January 6th, so I don't know what you're talking about.
That case hasn't happened yet, my friend.
He was impeached over it, you fool.
No, actually, yeah, but that's not.
He won.
Wait, no, there's still a case. There's still a case, right? Hasn't been heard yet.
Yeah, and it's not even going to do anything because January 6th committee got caught getting rid of all their evidence.
Did they?
So why would they do that?
What did they do?
Why would they get rid of all their evidence? Because they don't have any, huh?
Well, they didn't. So what are you talking about?
That's not true.
Yeah, they did get rid of all their evidence. Don't tell me they didn't.
They didn't. What evidence?
The evidence that they had against Trump, they erased it all.
What evidence?
They lost it.
What are you talking about?
So you go ahead and keep talking all your bullshit. You know that you're bullshit. You know that Trump is going to win, and you guys can't stand it.
Do you think that you think it's strange at all that when I asked you what you were talking about, instead you just said it was bullshit and Trump's going to win? Does it concern you at all that you can't answer questions?
I didn't change it. I said he wasn't guilty of January 6th. Fuck you. What is he guilty of? What did he do?
I'm asking you.
What did we do? What did we do as patriots?
Okay, can you just listen? There? Wait, conservative.
We didn't bring guns there. Fuck you.
Calm down. Calm down. Oh. Okay. And again, just to be clear, that conspiracy theory is a lie. Like, that's not true, and it's been disproven. But
what I have learned, like, this is what you guys have left, MAGA. Like, eventually somebody just gets so upset that we don't back what they say. Like, when you ask MAGA a question, you ask them to cite a source, nothing enrages them more. I think you did well there, conservative patriot. You represented your side well. That was very convincing to people sitting on the fence. I bet they're going to be like, oh, this is the side I want to be on. I want to be on the side with this guy. He made such good points. It really is. I don't think there's very many Trumpers left to have discussions with. I think they've either all fallen silent, and now it's just like the dumbest among them are showing up now.
Well, they definitely don't want to have a real conversation, which is a sign of insecurity. Like, I used to be like that, like, not that uninformed. But like, if you won't answer, if you're not willing to have the conversation, right? It's because you know you're wrong. It's the same reason Byron Donalds does interview after interview and won't let anyone talk. Because if you get into a discussion about the actual facts, they already know they're not on their side. So
Yeah,
you just yell F you and yell some lies and leave. Because that's the only thing they have to do at this point.
It was interesting also that he brought up January 6th and Trump. Like, I don't know if he knows, that's Marjorie Taylor Greene. We weren't even talking about Trump. We were just saying, like, why would you be the party that gets up and, like, you have an opportunity to speak to the American people and you're all like, stop talking about Jan 6th. We've all seen it. No matter how serious you think January 6th is, like, it's true that these people showed up and beat up cops. Even if you think that's like all that happened, that's still, why would you want to side with that? Why would you be the person that's like, it's unfair what they're doing? What? They showed up and beat up cops. What are you talking about? Just, if I was a Republican, and I would never talk about January 6th. Ever, ever, ever.
Remember Rick Scott saying if you beat up a cop, nothing happens to you in the earlier clip?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that funny? Sorry, it just occurred to me when you said that. Another very ironic thing. Yeah.
It's not helpful to your message. Nobody outside of your cult thinks that's a good message. And that's why I keep saying I think MAGA's in trouble, is because they can't even figure out what a winning message is. They're so wrapped up in their victim complex that they don't know what a winning message is. To conservative patriot, nobody would ever sit and listen to you talk. No, because you're just going to yell nonsense and you don't want to have a conversation. I don't think you're doing your side any favors by showing up. In fact, I would argue that by you showing up and doing what you did today, you are driving voters from your cause. Nobody's going to look at you that's on the fence and be like, that's a sensible guy, I'm with him. It's one of the reasons I've tried to be nice.
I want to hang out with that guy. Okay, March just gets worse, so we should get into these, and then I have a good ending point as well.
I was in Washington, D.C., and I'll never forget when the Biden administration and Nancy Pelosi, as Speaker of the House, brought in nearly 30,000 National Guardsmen and turned our Capitol complex into a military base. And you weren't allowed in there. The American people weren't allowed in there. And then they proceeded to shut.
Yeah, she's talking about, just to be clear what she's talking about, because it's ironic, right? It's because, like, in one breath, they say Nancy Pelosi never called the National Guard. She's talking about after January 6th, you know, when Nancy brought in the metal detectors and, you know, and they had the fence around the Capitol and they weren't giving tours anymore. That's what she's talking about.
And any National Guard presence they've used the National Guard. They've had the National Guard in D.C. before. Every single time the National Guard has been called, it has not been by the Speaker of the House. Because the Speaker of the House only can call the National Guard if the President and Vice President are incapacitated. That's the only scenario in which Nancy Pelosi can command the National Guard. Otherwise, it was Trump, and since Trump wasn't incapacitated, Pence couldn't do it. If the National Guard is ever in D.C., it's at the request of the President. That's the commander-in-chief for the D.C. National Guard. So even when this is this is the other thing. This isn't fucking Dale. This is a congressperson. This is somebody who should at least know, like, the very basics of how our government operates and how chain of command works. At the very least, somebody in Congress should know that. She doesn't even know that. Like, she's in Congress and doesn't know that Nancy Pelosi's not in charge of the National Guard. That's wild. And she's not the only one. Like, the amount of people in Congress repeating this lie that when do you learn? Like, 5th grade, I think, is roughly when you learn, like, chain of command type stuff. Like, we've all known this since elementary school. And somehow Republicans have forgotten this. That, like, the commander-in-chief is the one that's making that call, not the Speaker of the House.
Oh, it just gets worse. I know, her voice is it's like so shocking. Everyone, trigger warning, she's going to start screaming.
Down the country over COVID. They mask school children. They shut down schools. They closed beaches. They silenced your speech.
1.2 million people died, right? Like, I just want to be clear, like, what we're talking about. They masked school. They tried to protect school children from airborne disease. Virus.
They kicked you off social media. They attacked the very core of our freedoms, all for a virus that they made in a lab in Wuhan, China.
To be clear, the very core of our freedoms are being allowed to post anything you want on social media and not wearing a mask. Those are the core freedoms for Americans. Not being required to wear a mask and being able to post whatever you want on a private company's social media platform. Got it.
That's the preamble to the Constitution. Says promote general welfare, right? Like, it would be a violation of our Constitution to not try to protect the people from the pandemic. Like,
well, a lot of people don't know this, but at the end of the Constitution, like, people know the preamble, they read the Constitution, the amendments. A lot of people don't know at the end it says share this with 20 of your friends or you're gay. And so that's like, it's a chain letter there.
It's a chain letter.
Yeah, people don't realize that. That's what she's talking about here. Clearly.
Got it.
And yes, Dr. Anthony Fauci should be tried for crimes against humanity.
Hey, Tony. Lock him up. Wait, hold on. Weren't we just talking about how we don't can't lock her up?
Yeah, they're talking about
Now
Fauci.
to lock him up?
Yeah, now to lock him up.
What's up, Tony?
I just want to give y'all a little insight on who was in charge of the Capitol. That's Nancy Pelosi's domain.
No, it's not. No, we're talking about the national. Tony, please don't. Tony, please don't be like everybody else and not allow us to talk.
Well, I'm not. I'm just giving you the honest God's truth.
Well,
you need to look it up, bud.
Tony, you're doing it again. You just said you're not doing it. Who is the commander of the National Guard?
The President of the United States.
So how could it be Nancy Pelosi's responsibility?
Did you know the President of the United States
just stay with me. Just stay with me. Please stay with me.
Tony, we're having a conversation.
Tony, please stay with me here. Okay, Tony, please stay with me here. How is it Nancy Pelosi's responsibility?
Because that is her domain.
What does that mean?
That's her responsibility.
It's like the kitchen where women are.
You need to look it up.
But I have Tony.
You need to look it up.
I have Tony. So tell me where I would go to find
domain.
Tony. For the love of God, Tony, please don't be like everybody else. Have a conversation like a human. There you go again, Tony. Okay. Tony. Where would I find this, Tony? Where would I find this information that says Nancy Pelosi is in charge of the National Guard? Where would I find that?
She even said on tape that was her responsibility. Where would I find it if I wanted
to fact check this?
You'd have to look it up yourself.
I did, and it says that the president is the commander in chief, and that the D.C. National Guard reports to the president.
Well, explain to me how the president of the United States was turned down to have his speech at the Capitol because Nancy Pelosi would not allow it. You explain that to me.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the National Guard.
No, the State of the Union, she would not allow Trump to have his State of the Union address in the Capitol.
Yeah, because she's allowed. Yeah, because it's the Capitol. It's the president. It's a different branch of government.
No, she has authority over the Capitol.
But she doesn't have authority over the National Guard.
She was.
Do you understand the difference? You're making a different point.
She's in charge of the Capitol,
but not the National Guard.
She even said so herself.
Okay,
but
Tony.
Not the National Guard, Tony.
Yeah. So you're saying your argument, Tony. Let me just explain something. Your argument. Well, you're making the point that Nancy Pelosi's in charge of the Capitol building. Okay. So let's. For all intents and purposes, Tony, let me finish and just listen for a second. So let's just say that that's true. But what you're not getting is that the National Guard has no connection to that. You're conflating two things. Just because you were in charge of the Capitol building, let's say, that doesn't mean you're in charge of the National Guard.
I didn't say she was in charge of the National Guard. It's her duty to to call on the National Guard if something goes wrong at the Capitol.
No, it's not. She can't. She doesn't have the ability. She was trying. She was calling Mike Pence,
Yeah, and
begging
she did
him.
call. Yeah.
She was begging everybody to try and get through to either Mike Pence or Donald Trump to call in the National Guard. That's how it goes. It goes president, and then if the president's incapacitated, it goes vice president. If they're incapacitated, then it goes to Speaker of the House.
Right, I understand that.
So she didn't have authority to call in the National Guard. Brother, you should go look up this letter from Christopher Miller, who is the acting secretary of the Army, on January 4th. And he wrote a letter explaining that the National Guard would be on standby and this is what they could do, but they could only act on his directions. And he reports directly to Donald Trump. There was nothing Nancy Pelosi could have done about the National Guard. The video that you're talking about, when she's saying we should have done something, she's saying that they should have raised they knew that there was potential violence and they should have acted more aggressively to make sure that the president deployed National Guard troops. That's what she's saying. She said we didn't do enough, and she's right. And that's what a good leader does, is when they don't do enough, they admit that they didn't do enough. But what the other things that she could have done is basically like blowing it up, taking it to the press, making sure the public knew that they were demanding National Guard and the president was the one refusing to bring in the National Guard. That's what she's talking about.
Yeah, well, I looked it up. The president doesn't have authority over the Capitol.
I know, but he has the authority over the National Guard, my friend.
But do you understand where I'm coming from, right?
Yes, but when you came up, what we were talking about is Marjorie saying that Nancy Pelosi didn't bring in the National Guard. But she can't. She had no ability to do that.
Okay, so well, let's say it happens again. I mean, is it going to be Joe Biden's problem?
Yeah, it would be Joe Biden's responsibility to send in the National Guard. Yes.
If he doesn't send the National Guard, yeah. If someone attacks the Capitol building and Joe Biden does not call the National Guard, yeah, there's a huge problem.
Do you think Joe Biden would have sat there for 2.5 hours watching TV and not called the National Guard, Tony?
I have no idea. I have no
clue.
clue.
What would you have done, Tony, if you were the president? Would you
I
have called the
done
National
something
Guard
about it, but
okay, but you realize Trump did nothing about it, right? He wrote a tweet 2.5 hours later. 3 hours and 7 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. So what do you say about that? What do you say to a commander-in-chief who allows people to storm our Capitol and won't send the military that he's over to go in and help? What do you say to how do we look at that guy and say, oh, he cares about America. He cares about the people. He sat back and let it happen. He could have stopped it.
I don't know. I mean, I just read about it.
Sounds
I read
like
about it was Nancy Pelosi's problem.
I know. And now ask yourself this. Why do
you know
think
there's
so
two
many
separate
people...
videos of Nancy Pelosi admitting to
wait,
it, right?
I was in the middle of a sentence, Tony. Now ask yourself this. We now know, you and I both know Nancy Pelosi doesn't command the National Guard. Why are so many Republicans lying and saying that she does?
Say that again?
We both agree Nancy Pelosi does not control the National Guard, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so then why are so many Republicans lying and saying that she didn't call in the National Guard? That she was responsible for calling in the National Guard and didn't do it?
Because she made it herself.
No, she didn't. See, this is the thing. You just told me that you know she didn't have the ability to call in the National Guard. The reason that everybody's lying is because it was Trump who did it. It was Trump who didn't call the National Guard. And you guys aren't allowed to say bad things about Trump. So you're blaming Nancy Pelosi for something Trump refused to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I have another question for you. I mean,
Sure.
just skipping over this. I got a question about the Robert Furr in the interview with President Biden.
Robert Hur, yeah.
Yeah, Robert Hur. Why is he blocking the audio version of the interview if he's not trying to hide something?
So, yeah, and I think this is just telling the story backwards. So if you'll hear me out here, the Justice Department has a long-standing policy that they do not release audio transcripts. So what the Republicans are asking for is a special exception to a rule where they don't release audio or the audio. So Republicans need a good reason for, in my opinion, Republicans need a good reason for that audio. What would be the good reason that would?
Being more transparent to what was said.
I don't think that's a good enough reason. Just more
I do,
transparency.
because you and I both know that the written transcript is not going to match to the audio version.
Yeah, they
It
said that.
does,
They said
word
they took
for
out
word.
the
No, it
ums
doesn't.
and they
No,
took out
it
the
doesn't.
ums and ahs. Yeah, they took out filler words.
It does not match the audio version.
Wait, but that's what Robert Hur says. Robert Hur, a Republican, by the way, a Trump loyalist, by the way, said what they did is they took out like the ums and ahs.
Ums and ahs.
Yeah, so like if you're like
Well, where do you get this information from?
From Robert Hur when he testified before Congress.
He actually said that there's no redactions to anything.
Correct.
May I say something, Tony? I like, just to add to the conversation and the question. I think that, and Merrick Garland just testified before Congress also, and this was one of the topics. And there's a lot, like, what happened is right. He was being interviewed for 5 hours related to to classified documents. This was a voluntary interview. He never had to give. Has Trump ever sat down for an interview and been an open book for 5 hours about him and taking classified documents? No, but Biden volunteered. They asked him, he said no problem, volunteered and did it. And that's what Merrick Garland is saying. He didn't it's not like Tony, he committed a crime and he's, like being questioned about it. He didn't have to be there. He didn't do anything. He voluntarily allowed it. And Merrick Garland is scared, right? Like, the concern is, if because of executive privilege, Biden doesn't have, like, he has control over those tapes. He didn't even have to give the transcript. He could have exerted executive privilege over the transcript as well. And Biden allowed it to be. This is all voluntary because he's trying to be transparent with the American public. Did not claim executive privilege over the transcript. You have to understand, like, they are worried. The DOJ is worried that they will never have voluntary cooperation in regard to an investigation again if they release the tapes that are not relevant. They release the transcripts again voluntarily because of Biden. Why would anyone cooperate if they know? Imagine this. So now they know in the future, oh, I don't have to come because it's not like I'm under arrest. It's not like I'm indicted. I don't have to talk to them. And if I do, there's a possibility that those tapes will be used in my next election to prevent me from being elected. Would you cooperate? No one would.
I don't know. Well, I mean, if it's such a right thing to not give the audio tapes, why are they finding him contempt?
Well, because so here's how this works. By the way, he's not the first attorney general to be.
Yeah, Bill Barr was held in
Congress. Congress has the ability to issue subpoenas, and if you don't respond to their subpoenas, they can hold you in contempt. But ultimately, a judge has to decide if that subpoena has power. So now this will go to the courts, and the courts will decide, was this a legitimate subpoena? And I think they're going to rule, of course not. Of course, it's not a legitimate subpoena because Joe Biden's not even accused of a crime. Like, they're not even saying a crime he committed. Imagine it was you. Do you think people should just be able to pour? Hold on, do you think people should be able to just pour through your life, like the police? Do you think they should just be able to comb over your life and try and search for a crime if there's no crime that they've accused you of committing?
No, I don't think it's right.
Yeah, so they're asking now they got an interview that they didn't have to have. Joe Biden didn't have to sit for that interview because, again, Robert Hur said Joe Biden didn't commit a crime. There's no crime committed here. So he didn't have to sit for those 12 hours. He did. Then he didn't have to release the transcript, and he did. And the truth is, Tony, the only reason Republicans want this audio recording is so they can clip it and use it to campaign for Trump. They want Biden to look, and they'll clip little parts where Biden says and ah and takes a while to answer, and they'll be like, look, he shouldn't be president. That's that's their whole goal here. And I think that should, like, I think that as an American, as a conservative, as a Republican, I wouldn't want my party being the party of, like, petty politics. This Congress is the least effective Congress of all time. They don't do anything. All they've done for 4 years is investigate Joe Biden, and they have found nothing. They can't impeach him. They can't find a crime to stick to him. They have found absolutely nothing. People said that about Trump, but he was impeached twice, right? His lawyer went to jail. People in his administration went to jail. There were a lot of crimes that people found. These Republicans have found 0 crimes, and they still talk to you like they found something, but they've found nothing.
And I just want to say it's a long-standing policy, because I was just reading about this weekend. It's a long-standing policy of the DOJ to not pursue anything with contempt of Congress if the president claims executive privilege over the item. And it's the DOJ's job to bring the contempt of Congress charge before a judge if it's warranted. And that's their longstanding policy. If the president exerts executive privilege, they don't do anything with it. And so that's why it's not going to go forward.
Well, they were saying in Congress that it wasn't filed in legitimate
Here,
time.
I'm reading from an article. Carlos Felipe Uriarte, an assistant attorney general, said, quote, "It's a longstanding position of the department not to bring charges in cases where the president has made the decision to conceal the requested material using his executive privilege. Accordingly, the department will not bring the congressional contempt citation before a grand jury or take any other action to prosecute the attorney general," end quote.
Oh, that was my question. I was just curious about it.
Appreciate it, Tony. I love
I
your
followed
dog,
you,
by the
Tony.
way.
Come back and see us if you. Oh, no, you have the cutest dog.
Is that a boxer? Pitbull? What is it?
It's a Boston Terrier.
Oh, really?
On steroids.
You've been feeling him.
He's thick.
He is thick. He looks like a pitbull. That's a Boston Terrier. He's not messing around.
Yeah, Boston Terrier. He's pretty big dog to be a Boston Terrier.
I'll say. All right, Tony. We'll come back sometime, man. It was good talking to you.
All right, then.
All right, brother. Be well. All right, let's. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, that's probably your backup in the box, huh? Yeah, we're over time.
Yeah.
Let me read. Did I get these? I think there was a couple more I needed to read. Yeah. Stephanie says, "When does a joke become a dad joke?" You should know this one by now.
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
When it becomes apparent.
Apparent, yes, we've heard that.
I don't get this. I love this. I don't know if this is just funny by itself or if there's a reference I'm not getting. But Kimmy says MTG's voice equals turtle killer. I don't know if there's more of a reference there, but I do believe that her voice kills turtles. I don't.
I was like, I'm not. Yeah, it says it's not true.
It's not true. All right, everybody. Negative. That's it for us today. We will not be here tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow on Juneteenth. Yes. If you're going to be on TikTok, we highly recommend you go and you participate with Black creators. I know that there are some people who are running a live together. I think Jones, Liv, and Parker. I think Jones announced that I would be part of that panel. I don't think and Felice. We definitely haven't discussed that. So I'll talk to Jones. It was probably a it's probably a miscommunication by me. But we are going to take the day off. We'll be watching from the stands.
Yeah, it's important. Juneteenth just became a federal holiday in 2021. We discussed this at the beginning of the show. It's essentially Black Independence Day. It's when in Texas, like General Gardner, I think we were talking about, showed up and basically announced like the end of slavery in Texas, right? 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation and right before the 13th Amendment was ratified. And like, we do want to give respect to Black creators who are highly educated on this stuff. And like, we're going to take the opportunity tomorrow as well, alongside you guys, to be educated.
I've been told that a turtle is an uncircumcised penis. So that may have been what we were talking about with Marjorie.
Okay.
Somebody said, Jones said I might be. That makes more sense for the conversation that we had. I'll talk to Jones offline. But you guys can catch us then again
if I should be there.
On Thursday and Friday. You can catch the replay on YouTube. That'll be up in a couple hours. While you're there, subscribe, like a video, drop a comment. That would be helpful. Thank you guys for all the donations. If you want an invite to the Discord where we drop all the links and we have a lot of interesting conversations, please shoot me or any of the mods DM and we will get you an invite to the Discord. Did I miss anything, Felice?
I missed you guys. That's all I want to say. It's nice to be back. I missed you guys so much. Thank you for all the love and support. And we'll see you guys in the comment sections tomorrow.